We are going to start very soon here. I'm just getting everything set up. Welcome to the Pipeline Podcast live stream. Today we are going to watch an interview by Tucker Carlson of Nick Fuentes. So it's on the Tucker Carlson show. He had Nick Fuentes on for the first time. They both talked about each other and kind of shit on each other a lot, especially recently. What's interesting, though, is they're kind of on the same team. They're both Republicans. They're both America First. So my hopeful predictions are at the end of this interview, they're best buddies and can kind of work together to try to push a more America First Republican Party, which, in my opinion, is very important right now. So let's check it out. Again, we got... If you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, we have Nick Fuentes on the left. Mainstream media will call him a racist Holocaust denier. Then we have also a anti-Zionist, or like he hates Jewish people is what they'll say. They'll say that same thing about Tucker Carlson. Most people are familiar with Tucker Carlson, but if you're not, he used to be a Fox News host. His dad was a CIA informant, which means he most likely is as well. And he's projected that onto Nick Fuentes, saying that no, Nick Fuentes is a CIA op. So that's really fun. I hope they get into that. And anyway, Tucker Carlson used to be on Fox News as like a broadcaster, but now he kind of does his own show. And that's what we're watching. This is Tucker Carlson's show, and he's interviewing Nick Fuentes. So let's begin.
Nick Fuentes, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I wanted to meet you. I've heard about you.
I've heard about you.
Let me know if the volume sucks. I can change it.
I want to understand what you believe, and I want to give you a chance in a minute to just lay it out, not what you're pivoting against, which are a lot of the same thing. You know, I agree with you on some of the things you're pivoting against for sure, but what do you affirmatively believe? So I just want to stand back and let you explain it. But first I want to understand how you got to where you are, how you became Nick Fuentes. So this is my understanding of your life arc, and tell me if I'm wrong. You show up at Boston University. You grew up in a suburb of Chicago, working class, western suburb, and you show up at Boston University in the fall of 2016 at the height of the battle between Trump and Hillary. It's like this kind of pivot point in history. And you show up with a MAGA hat, and you have a Trump hat, and you have like basically off-the-shelf Republican views.
Yes.
And so describe the views that you had then, and then describe what happened.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was very political. I was reading a lot of the libertarian stuff, Austrian school, Chicago school, economic type literature, because that's what was popular at the time. If you went online in the early 2010s, that's all the conservative content there really was. That was the most extremely online type
Libertarian
stuff.
economics.
Well, yeah, basically kind of the remnant of the Ron Paul revolution.
Yes.
The Young Americans for Liberty, PragerU, which kind of skews a little more, I guess, conservative, but very basic,
Yeah, it does.
Small government, individualism, libertarian type stuff.
So you watch PragerU videos?
Oh, yeah. I was in the Prager Force.
What's that?
The Prager
It's
Force?
a Facebook group for college kids, and they promote the PragerU videos.
Wow.
To the college students and high school students.
So you really were a product of the moment.
Absolutely.
And how'd you feel about Trump?
Well, initially, I didn't like Trump. When the primary started in 2015, I considered him to be a statist.
Yeah.
Which sounds so ridiculous now.
No, a lot of people thought that.
Yeah. And I was a libertarian.
Yeah, I'll say also in 2016, I didn't like Trump either initially at all.
So I saw him as a big government, 1990s liberal. When he was asked about healthcare, he said, well, we'll take care of everybody. And I said, I'm a Rand Paul guy, Ted Cruz guy. Those were kind of my people back in 2015.
You like Ted Cruz?
I was a Cruz missile.
Not anymore.
Does Cruz know this?
I don't think so, no. I was actually on his campaign.
You were on the Ted Cruz campaign?
I don't know if I was on the campaign, but I door knocked in a little village in Chicago in McKinley Park for Ted Cruz
No way.
in the Illinois primary.
Did he write you a thank you note?
Did
No,
he
I
write
didn't
you
get
a thank you note?
He lost, so I guess.
Yeah, he did. He did in a very humiliating way.
Yup.
Wow, that's amazing. So what happened?
So I, like everybody else in 2016, went through this ideological awakening. And
Yeah, college campuses in 2016 were it was a pretty interesting time because you had all the like frat guys who were like hardcore Trump supporters, and then you had basically the rest of the university, which was like diehard Hillary supporters. And I was actually I was in college at the time at a university, and just the atmosphere when Trump won was depressing. Everyone was so sad.
first, I shifted to Trump. And the first realization that I had is it started in 2016, actually, because the primaries, started in 15, around April or May, I think was the first announcements. And I had very negative feelings about Trump. And like I said, pro Rand Paul, pro Cruz. But when the actual Iowa caucus happened and the primaries began, I saw that Trump was dominating. And every night in the Super Tuesday, when they had all the big contests, one after the other, I remember the media was furious that he was winning one after the other.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, structurally, if I'm a libertarian or a conservative and we want to change the country, we have to win elections. If you want to win elections, you have to bypass the media. I sort of had this realization that the media was really standing in the way. They were the problem. And I had this realization that all the conservatives and Republicans up to that point were afraid to take on the media.
Right.
They, like Mitt Romney, would cower before them and were so apologetic and so weak. And so initially I said, I actually don't ideologically agree with Trump at all, but he will destroy the liberal media, or at least their monopoly on thought and opinion.
Yes.
And then a breakthrough can occur. So that was kind of the first hump. And I said,
I do have a hard time believing that 18-year-old Nick Fuentes had that realization, but he's stated, a lot of times that he's been politically involved since he was like 10 or 12 or whatever. So maybe it's true.
I could get behind Trump because he's a winner. He'll win for our side. And that was kind of the first big thing. And then as I listened to him more and more, his speeches and his rhetoric, I started to think about immigration.
Which you hadn't really considered before?
Never. And the
Same here. So he's from Chicago. I'm from Michigan, and immigration just really at that time, like in that area, like the Midwest, just it was one of those issues everyone maybe had heard about, but no one had actually seen like what it was like. No one was really aware of it.
reason why is because I was from a 95% white suburb.
Yeah.
So
Stuff
the
like that.
diversity had not really reached my corner of Chicago yet. Me and my family, not so much my family, they grew up in the city, but growing up in the suburbs, I was insulated from that. So it was just not even, it's actually, you're going to love this. I don't know if I've ever even said this on an interview before. I was listening to Mark Levin's show. This goes to show how normie I was.
Actually?
I'm actually not familiar with Mark Levin.
I listen to him every day.
You listen to Mark Levin every day?
In high school, yes.
Wow.
I was a fan.
Wow.
I loved his show. And I actually liked how he was kind of obnoxious and mean to his callers.
Yeah.
Vicious. And I liked that. I thought that was funny. But I'll never forget one show. He goes live and he says, America's becoming a majority non-white country. Does anybody think that's a good idea? And I was thinking to myself, yeah, that actually doesn't sound so good. I didn't really even think that America's becoming majority minority like that. And,
so you were radicalized on race by Mark Levin?
Yes.
Are you making that up?
Are you making that up?
Story.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of
amazing. He planted the seed at least. And then I saw a graphic on 4chan or Twitter, and I'm sure you've seen something similar. It said, this is what the map looks like, the electoral map. If only men vote, if only women vote, if only whites vote, if only non-whites vote. And it became very obvious what the electoral problem is. It's demographics. These immigrants are coming here. They're going to turn Texas blue like they turned California blue.
Yeah, I saw it happen.
Yeah, and you look at even the opinion polls. These people don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in the Constitution, the Second Amendment. As a libertarian, the things that are, and as American, things that are important to you, they don't believe, they don't understand these things. And so I said, that's another political obstacle. You've got the media, you've got immigration. So I'm thinking like, well, we're going to vote for Ted Cruz. He's going to be the constitutionalist. We'll vote for Rand Paul. He'll be the libertarian. But what stands in the way of political power for us? It's the media and it's immigration. So I said, well, we got to get Trump to beat the media, build the wall, deport the illegals. And once we set the country straight, then we can actually have our constitutional republic back. That was kind of the idea. And that's the mindset that I had going into college.
Amazing. So then what happened?
Amazing.
So I go to college and I'm just, at that point, a huge Trump supporter. And you got to understand, for me, for my generation, so I was 18. I turned 18 in August 2016. And to us,
That's
Trump...
amazing.
Yeah. Well, because we're like the first generation that was influenced by Trump coming of age in that moment.
No, I say it's amazing because when you're living in something, you don't appreciate its full significance. But to be 18 in August of 2016, so this really is, as you're forming your views and really yourself.
Yes.
In the middle of it. We'll admit that we are not the most disciplined.
We got to sit through this Tucker Carlson ad real quick.
Barbecue flavor, next level. Vandy Crisps is American made, no compromises. You feel satisfied, light, energetic, no crash, no sluggishness. It's awesome. Visit vandycrisps.com/Tucker. Use code Tucker.
I will say, so far in the interview, it's just hard to believe how well articulated Nick Fuentes is for being so young. It almost seems like it's an act, but he's been so consistent, not just in this interview, but every time he does an interview or does one of his own shows, that you just have to believe it. He is just like, he definitely is like, he strives to be like a politician or something related to that in his future. So I don't really think it's an act. I think he actually is. He's what people would call like very put together, even if he has some extremist opinions.
Transformative. And, so for us, he was like the savior of Western civilization. We looked at him as like, and by we, I mean me and all the online kids, teenagers that supported him, we really believed the hype. Like Teflon Don, like he could go into any scenario and win. Like he was unstoppable, unflappable. Nobody could score points on him. He just seemed like, they said you can't stump the Trump. Like he could not be stumped.
Can't stump the Trump.
Just had this aura of inevitability, invincibility. And I loved that. And so I went to Boston University. I got on campus in September and I was wearing my MAGA hat everywhere in the dining hall.
And I'm sure that caused issues. Boston University is a very liberal school. I'm sure there was a lot of students that saw him with this MAGA hat and had a problem with it.
Walking down the street, And it's a city campus. So you're walking down Commonwealth Avenue and,
Oh, it's not even
you know,
better.
you're in the city
That's
of
worse.
Boston, which is super liberal. And at that time, it's different than it was now. People were getting fired for wearing MAGA hats. People were getting punched in the face. It was like being a Trump supporter it was out there actually back then. It was
Yeah, I remember.
controversial. It was controversial everywhere, not even, you know, just in liberal Boston. But so I was wearing my hat everywhere, and I was just getting accosted constantly. In the dining hall, people would come up and yell in my face. Some black girl in a hijab ran up to me and said, "You know what you're supporting? You're racist." And I'm trying to get my pizza, you know, I'm trying to get my oatmeal or whatever at the dining hall. This was happening constantly. And so I was going then on Twitter, and I had a small Twitter account with my real name and face, and I had, you know, maybe 200 followers, and I'm posting about my experiences. And I caught the attention of a lot of people on campus for wearing the hat, for posting on Twitter, and they found my
And
Twitter.
you've only been there like a month?
Less weeks, maybe 3 weeks. This is starting to kick up. And I catch the attention of my peers, and they start going at me on Twitter and giving me death threats. "We're going to kill you. How dare you?
Oh, yikes.
If I see you, I'm going to beat your ass," that kind of thing.
And just real quick, there has been people, Nick Fuentes got doxxed before, and there was someone that actually like showed up to his house and tried to kill him and ended up getting suicided by a cop. There has been like real attempts on Nick Fuentes' life just for him, you know, using his free speech, which is actually crazy to think about.
And this is my first experience with this. You know, now we're all kind of desensitized to it, but that was my first run-in with like, you know, this intensity from the left. So I file a police report. I get real nervous. And, you know, when you're a student, you can't really avoid other people. You're in a dorm room.
Exactly.
You're in the, you know, so you're vulnerable. And anyway, long story short.
Don't play the victim.
So
You were
one of
wearing
these
that MAGA
guys
hat.
from the campus libertarian group, Young Americans for Liberty, he reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I'm not going to say his name, but he goes, I go to a school in Boston. I'm from YAL."
Boston.
He said, "And I'd like to set up a debate with you and one of these people that's been giving you a hard time on campus," because they were doing a lot of events. He said, "Is that something you're interested in?" I said, "Absolutely." And so he goes around and he asks.
That is one thing about Nick Fuentes. He will debate, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, he'll debate anyone.
Some of the bigger people that are antagonizing me on Twitter, and everybody says no. And he goes, "Yeah, no one's going for it." I said, "Well, can you try again? Can you?" And so he finds one guy, and it turns out to be the student body president of the whole university.
Nice.
Yeah, the senior, this liberal douchebag progressive.
Liberal douchebag.
And he's the student body president of the student government there. And so we set up the debate. It was about a week before the actual election. So I think it was end of October, beginning of November.
That's cool.
And they hold it in this auditorium in the center of the campus, and like 300 people show up. So it turns into like this huge, and they're all liberal. They all
I don't
hate
even
my
have 300
guts. They're
subs.
heckling me the whole time. They're yelling at me. We do this debate about Trump versus Hillary. And so I'm there and I'm pro-Trump, and I say, you know, I think Trump's going to win. And I'm straight up like ripping the Ben Shapiro talking points. I'm saying, you know, it's got everything to do with culture and nothing to do.
Yeah, I believe it was Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder that tried to show up in 2016 to campus where I was going to school. And the liberal students actually like drove him off of campus. They like attacked him and like mobbed him, and he had to like not do his little thing, his little show, and actually like leave the campus. Which at the time I thought was funny, but looking back on it now, indoctrinated college students took away that person's, you know, freedom of speech. And that's a terrible thing to do. That only promotes division in the country.
With race and diversity is a problem and all this. And I decisively win the debate. It's like not even close. The debate
It's not even
wraps up,
close.
and this girl who I think I had talked to her on Twitter once or twice comes running up to the stage after the debate, and it's Cassie Dillon. And at this time, she's a fellow at Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's company. And like I said, I barely knew her. And she comes running up and she says, "Oh my gosh, I live streamed this debate on Periscope on Twitter." She said, and 30,000 people watched it. And you have like
Damn.
5 job offers. You did incredible.
That's a
I
lot.
said, wow, I don't know what to say. That's great. She goes,
You're 18 years old.
yes. So it's like happening very quickly for me, you know? And she goes, do you want to do a post-game interview after the debate? I said, sure. And so she asked me about how I thought the debate went and what my views are and things like that. And, you know, very normal stuff. And then at the end, she says, I just got back from doing study abroad in Israel.
Hell
She goes,
yeah.
"It was
They're going to talk
amazing.
about Israel.
Would you ever take a trip to Israel?" And I said, no, I think I got everything I need right here in America.
Ooh.
She goes, oh, okay. And she wraps up the interview. And that was a little bit of foreshadowing. And this begins
little?
a relationship, not a romantic relationship, but we become friends and we start talking. And she's plugged in, like I said, a Daily Wire. She's talking to people at Right Side Broadcasting Network, the college Republicans. I start to develop this friendship with her. And over time, she lands me this show on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And in this time, I'm really starting to lean into America first. I'm becoming more pro-Trump.
I will say Nick Fuentes is really the first, as far as I'm aware, other than Trump, he is like the first person to really go all out America first.
As time goes on. And what really stood out to me was Trump's inaugural address in January 17th. So this was just a couple months later. And in Trump's inaugural, he says famously, a new vision will govern our land. It's going to be only America first, America first. And I said, that's me. Like, that's what I believe.
Yeah.
I'm an American nationalist.
Me too.
Fully at this point, not even a conservative. And there was one thing that happened just before that that really struck me as strange. And I've told this story before. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but suffice to say, Barack Obama in the lame duck period, so the Democrats lost the election. He's on his way out. There's a resolution in the Security Council condemning the settlements in the West Bank in Israel. And typically the U.S.
We have covered this on the channel. Also, I learned about this originally from Nick Fuentes.
delegation will veto those resolutions condemning Israel. Well, Obama's on his way out. He's got nothing to lose. So the U.S. delegation abstains from the resolution and it passes. And Fox News and all the pro-Israel conservatives are calling him an anti-Semite. They're saying, he hates Jews. He's an anti-Semite. He hates Israel. And I saw that and it struck me as strange because it seemed hypocritical. It seemed like how when conservatives would critique anything about race, we got called racist, or anything about feminism, we got called sexist. All Obama did was uphold U.S. policy on the West Bank that we've had since '67, which is we don't support the settlements. I said, how is it anti-Semitic to just be consistent on our U.S. foreign policy? Like I said, which is a Republican-Democrat consensus. And I got attacked for this. I wrote a big article about this. I tweeted about it. I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, you know, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a
You're still
freshman.
a freshman in
I'm
college.
18.
And this is
That's
even before I
crazy.
started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism.
I almost think that there are a lot of Jewish people with dual loyalty. And to even just like state that obvious fact is, of course, it's not anti-Semitic.
And like, this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
So I'm driving to Christmas Eve.
Also, real quick, I actually used to listen to Ben Shapiro a little bit, not too much, but when Trump got reelected and started that like tariff trade war, I literally had to stop listening to Ben Shapiro because all he could talk about is how, oh my God, Trump's going to ruin the stock market. And he would just go on hour-long rants on his show about it. And it was so annoying and also stupid, by the way, that I I gave up listening to him. I couldn't do it because his bias was just so obvious. All he cared about was these stocks that he just kept talking about, the market. Um, and once I realized that he did have like a major bias, I stopped listening to him. I couldn't take him seriously anymore.
Mass with my family, and I see on Twitter the notification comes up. Ben Shapiro quote tweets me calling me an anti-Semite. And I was
All
like,
press is
what
good
is
press.
this? Like, why is this guy attacking me? You know, because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. And so then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel.
Ooh, got him.
And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite.
That same night?
That's not anti-Semitic, by the way.
This was, I think, a couple weeks later. Happened a little bit further down the line. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I would have been.
I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking...
It's because he's a
how does he
Zionist?
even know who I am or what I'm about? And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. She texted him after that debate and said, you know, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. He's a little too Trumpy.
A little too
and he goes,
Trumpy.
Take a look. And so I guess the two of them were kind of like grooming me in a sense. They wanted me to go maybe and be a Daily Wire or maybe looking me as a potential conservative activist or influencer. And so they started paying attention to
Most
me.
likely,
And the more
right.
critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them and from a lot of the people at Daily Wire.
Why do you think, so you're an 18-year-old college freshman, you're clearly talented and you're engaged, you're really interested, and you ask not crazy questions like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And rather than explain it, they just call you a racist, call you an anti-Semite. Like, that's the first response. That seems like the least effective, well, it turned out to be not very effective in your case, but that seems like the least effective thing you could do. Why do you think they did that?
Well, I think that
if I had to guess, it's because it's the easiest response to shit on Nick Fuentes. To just say, oh, you know, he hates, he's hating on a religion. It's just you just go to it real quick. It's the easiest thing to say.
you have to look at it not in retrospect because hindsight is 2020. And so looking back, you could say they made a terrible mistake because look at sort of what they provoked or what they catalyzed. But at that time, you got to consider I'm 18 with no following, with no network. I'm coming from the suburbs of Chicago. My parents didn't go to college. I have no connections. And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted.
Obviously, he can't prove that, but I totally agree.
Oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board with Israel. We'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down. We'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17, any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted. And that's exactly.
In 2017, I wasn't even aware of the poll that pro-Israel people had on American politics. That was just way over my head. I was a little more left-leaning, and I have this fun conspiracy that like Republicans are basically just people that are politically involved. They follow it, and then liberals are people who kind of take a glance on it from the outside, and that's kind of the reason they have very half-baked policies and ideals. But over time, if they keep digging into the whole political atmosphere, they're just secret Republicans. They just don't know it yet.
Exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors, to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
While you're a college student?
yes, as a freshman, yeah.
Most coffee companies sell weakness.
All right, sorry.
watered-down drinks
We got
and
Tucker
faceless
Carlson ads we got to deal with.
corporations, which, not to brag, is in this cup right here, is very different. It's roasted and brewed in this country without apology by patriotic men and women. The coffee is built by people who love the U.S. and know what it means to fight for it. We know them. We know the guys who run it. We've known them for a long time, and we know this is true. They're special forces veterans, ranchers, just decent people. They're the best of us, and the coffee is strong. The energy drinks, ooh, even stronger. It's not sugar water, not empty marketing. Fuel for people who get up early, work late, keep this nation running. Every purchase helps support veterans, first responders, law enforcement. From bold roast to ready-to-drink cans, mugs, T-shirts, gear, Black Rifle makes products with pride.
Just real quick, while we're watching this ad, I really like the policies of Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. I like them both. I do see them a little bit as possibly Christian extremists in the future. They're both very, very religious. That's the only thing about them that I don't really have the same opinions on. But as far as politics go, these two are some of the people I follow very, like, the closest. And Nick Fuentes, I'll be honest, I never even heard of him until Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And I used to hate Tucker Carlson, and I still don't think he's... I mean, I'm glad he's not a politician, basically. I still have some issues with him.
I mean, Ben Shapiro seems like a big part of your political evolution.
Yes.
You went from a fan/accolade
And I used to like Ben Shapiro, but not anymore.
to an opponent and then just pivoted against everything
Yeah.
that he believes.
Yeah. It was because it was this new dialectic that Trump forced.
Yeah.
Trump planted the seed.
And the seed was
Bro. I'm gonna mute you.
America first.
Bro, I
Yes.
am muted. What are you talking about?
I don't know, I was hearing shit in the background.
So once you accept that, a lot of the way we're doing things becomes impossible to support or justify.
Right. The contradiction
Like, for real,
becomes
my mic was
apparent.
hard
It gets
muted.
moved to the center and it becomes unignorable if
Yeah.
you're consistent.
So what kind of efforts did they make to make you go away?
So this is a couple of months down the line. You know, first they would try to dissuade me from asking questions because I was friends with a lot of the Daily
I'm just asking questions.
Wire writers, not just Cassie Dillon, but many of them were Jewish. And I would ask them point blank. I would say, so why do we give Israel all this money? $3.8 billion per year? What is that for? And they would say, well, you know, there's a really good answer for that, but you're asking it in the wrong way. You're asking it in an anti-Semitic way. I'd say, I'm asking for the proof. You know, what's the argument there? And so first it was the sort of, hey man, could you kind of tone it down? Maybe just don't bring that up so much. But I was persistent because
This is,
at this time
Cassie
I was
Dillon.
genuinely inquisitive. I wanted to know,
I'm
is
not
there an
familiar with
actual
her.
reason? And I was actually expecting that there was a really good reason for all of it. And the more that I read, the more that I dug into the subject, the more I found out there's a lot of these neocon Jewish types behind the Iraq war.
Yes, he's saying there's a lot of these neocon Jewish types behind the Iraq war. And again, this is something I wasn't aware of until way too late. But he's right. Just think, if you are pro-Israel, do you or do you not support America attacking your enemies, which would be like Iraq, Afghanistan, you know, Arab countries, Muslim countries? You would definitely support that and promote the United States to invade those countries.
There's the foreign aid complex, which is really unique. There's AIPAC, which is this intense foreign lobby where it's bipartisan. It seems to be the only thing that the parties can agree on. And so
That is another thing. AIPAC doesn't really have any opponents.
it just made me burn more with curiosity. So I just kept asking them. And eventually they said, you know what? We're not going to talk to you anymore. And these are my friends. I met them, went to Christmas parties with them. And all of them one day said, you're done. We're blocking you.
You're
We're
done.
never going to speak to you again. We're never going to have you on our show. And I said, wow,
You're trash.
This seems like
You're
inhuman.
garbage.
I'm struck by how impersonal this is. Like here, I thought we're friends. We're all conservatives. Maybe we disagree on one issue. Now I'm being canceled by the right. So I was shocked by this.
When was this?
This was February or March 2017.
So you're still a freshman in college?
Yes.
That's so funny.
Are you even paying attention to college at this point?
No, not at all. And my grades started to suffer because I was just really focused on this.
So that's pretty young to get canceled and pretty young to have friendships destroyed over politics. Like that's usually, like decades down the line.
Right.
What did you do?
Well, I just became more emboldened. And so I took this story.
Ooh, this is something he talks about a lot. So he's like, every time these people like Ben Shapiro and whoever else called me anti-Semitic, it just made me double down on my stances. So it's like, if you are like a pro-Israel person and you're just going to go around calling everyone that disagrees with you anti-Semitic, you have to understand that's not going to help your cause.
On my show. At this time, I was on RSBN and I had this show, which I named after the inaugural. It's called America First. And I would kind of subtly bring up the Israel topic and say, this is something you're not allowed to talk about. This seems like an apparent contradiction. It's a big problem.
It is
And
a contradiction.
they escalated their attacks. Cassie Dillon would call my boss, who she was friends with, at RSBN every day for weeks, saying, you'll never believe what Nick said on his show tonight. It's so racist. It's so bad. You got to take him off the air. It's going to make you look bad. And I would then get word from my boss, Joe Seals. He was the founder at Right Side. And he would call me up and say, I don't know what has gotten into Cassie. I thought you guys
He's told the story so many times.
were friends, but she is calling me every day hysterically, demanding that I fire you. And I was like, wow, so it just keeps getting worse. It starts with this, they're very weird about the subject. Then they don't want to talk to me. Then they're trying to get me fired. And I'm thinking, okay, so clearly what I'm asking about, there's some truth there that they don't want.
I should have asked you this earlier. Did anyone during the course of, pre-cancelization say to you, here are the reasons? You're not asking the question correctly, but there are reasons that our foreign aid to Israel is so high. And here's what they are.
They did, but in a very general and vague way. As you know, it's never specific. They would say things like, well, they're our partner in the Middle East. They're a democracy in the Middle East. Just as very vague. It's rhetorical. And I read The Israel Lobby by Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt, and they break it down very succinctly that there's no real strategic benefit. Actually, there's strategic liability. Eastern Mediterranean is not a strategically important region. The intelligence that Israel provides is not useful. Actually, it's detrimental because they frequently lie. The technology we give them, they pass along to the Chinese, which was a big scandal.
Oh,
So
we will have to look into that in the future. I'm not aware of that.
I would give them all this and say, yeah, that's not adding up. And they would say, yeah, well, you really just can't talk about that.
What?
Your friend said that to you?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so what happened to your job? The Right Side broadcasting gig?
Eventually, I got fired. I got kicked out.
Why?
Because one of these clips that Cassie Dillon had a problem with, she ran it up the flagpole. She took it to Media Matters, actually, which is a left-wing outfit. They're like a cancel mill. And
Wait, the Daily Wire person took it to Media Matters?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I'm 99% sure.
Huh. What was the clip?
It was a clip, ironically, where I was talking about the travel ban, the so-called Muslim ban, and I was defending it. And I said that the First Amendment does not protect foreign nationals. It doesn't protect Salafists, Wahhabists.
Right.
He's like, I said, they're saying that there's a constitutional right for radical Muslims to come here. And I said that, how are they protected by the First Amendment? They're foreign nationals. And the authorial intent of the First Amendment was actually not even to protect that to begin with. It's kind of.
So what he's saying is true. The First Amendment does not apply to foreign nationals, but I will say when this ban happened, what was it, like 7 or 8 years ago, I was totally against it and did think that it discriminated on people based on their religion. But that doesn't really matter. If they're foreign nationals, you could just say anyone from this country can't immigrate here. That's a real thing that you can do, and the Supreme Court didn't uphold that decision. Which at the time I thought was the correct choice, but now looking back at it, I think they fucked up there.
Anti-Christendom radical ideology. So it's something, ironically, that probably Shapiro and Cassie would agree with, but they recognize the currency that a clip like that would have with the left. Because the left could say, you're Islamophobic, you're racist.
So she brought that to the left, saying, look at this guy. It's not that he's anti-Israel, but he's anti-Muslim.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yes.
And so that clip appears on Media Matters, which at the time, I was the subject of a lot of attacks from them at
I've never heard of Media Matters.
the time. And people kind of listened to them,
Yeah.
including on the right. They listened to them.
Yes.
So what happened?
So I had to write an apology. My boss called me up and said, you need to apologize for what you said.
For being anti-Muslim.
Apologize.
And so I didn't write, I'm sorry, but I had to write something like, well, I should have chosen my words more carefully and this, that, and the other. And ultimately, then they fired me
Anyway,
a couple weeks later. Yeah.
what was the pretext for that?
Well, they wanted to get in the White House press office. They wanted a press pass. And they said, it's the stuff you're saying on the show isn't like a good look for Right Side. They're not going to let us into the White House if you're with us.
But the pressure in this scenario came exclusively from the Daily Wire.
Yes. Yes, because, and here's how I know why. My show got maybe 100 live viewers every night.
Not a powerhouse show.
No. So
Got to start somewhere.
the Media Matters was not onto me. They were put onto me
Yeah.
by people in the right that wanted me canceled.
That's definitely
Yeah,
true.
well, that's interesting. So then what do? You're failing in school. Your show just got canceled. What's your plan now?
So I dropped out. I didn't.
College.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I hated college and
Oh shit!
to
I
actually
lost.
participate.
I lost my spot. Anyway, I was gonna say he pulled the Charlie Kirk there, dropping out of college. Fuck! I lost my spot. God damn it, dude. All right, we're about 40 minutes ish in, so we're somewhere around 40 minutes, a little bit less. This is gonna suck.
When we started this show, we were looking for a very specific sponsor.
damn
We
it.
wanted to find a
I guess my thought so far is Nick Fuentes is just using Tucker Carlson's interview as a way to just like make people aware of who he is. I really thought they were going to get into the juice. I mean, they've both called each other CIA informants. I want them to kind of duke it out. If you've seen Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens do their interview, they get a little hostile with each other. That's what I was hoping was going to happen. Stay tuned. Maybe it does happen. I haven't seen this yet. It just came out 3 hours ago. I want to see Tucker say, Nick, you're a CIA honeypot. And I want to say, Nick say, no, you're in the CIA. And it's like that Spider-Man meme where they're just both pointing at each other. That's what I want to see. If you have any predictions, leave a comment. Let me know.
I think it ever did because I know who I am. I had a very firm grounding of what I'm about, which is that I was deeply Catholic, and I still am, deeply patriotic and pro-American, and I don't consider myself temperamentally to be an angry or a hateful person. So I never.
I do believe that if you just read news article headlines about Nick Fuentes, you'll believe that he's a racist, hateful person. But if you listen to him speak, you'll quickly realize mainstream media has just slandered him every chance that they've gotten. But he does have some extremist opinions. I will say that, but they're just opinions. It's not like he's going out there committing violence on people he doesn't like. He's just straight up saying some controversial stuff, and you're allowed to do that.
In other words, lost my center. You know, they say this thing about you look into the abyss and the abyss stares back into you. That never really happened to me. I was frustrated. I was frustrated because I felt like I was being denied a level playing field, opportunity, and it wasn't fair. I felt like I was right, and these people that were basically hypocrites, grifters, not really conservative, they were controlling the conversation, and as a consequence, they were controlling the Republican movement. And I really perceive this as like an urgent crisis, because if we wanted Trump to deliver America first, to realize it, the Trump movement had to transform the conservative movement to reflect the victory that Trump won.
So, and I won't keep torturing you with biographical questions, but I do want to, like, so how your show gets canceled, you drop out of college, you have no money, you decide you want to work at the Leadership Institute, which is like a conservative think tank or some organization of longstanding in Arlington, Virginia.
I'm not familiar.
You get a job there because you're worried about immigration. It's all pretty amazing. And then, like, where does that leave you? How did you succeed?
Well, I continued doing my show. I did it independently.
What does that mean? How do you do it? How do you do a show independently? Like, how did you do it?
I started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I was in my parents' basement, and I put up a green screen. I got my computer, webcam, and I just started going live every night in the same way that I did at RSBN. I just did it on my own channel where I had creative control over it. And at that point, I basically mounted an attack on the conservative establishment from the outside. I sort of realized that there's sort of two ways you could play this. You could infiltrate the conservative movement. I could recant all my views and apologize and pretend to be one of them and bypass the gatekeepers, the censors. I said, or I could kind of be in the wilderness and I would be alone and I would be radioactive, but I could challenge the credibility and legitimacy of the conservative movement and its claim to represent conservatives. And that was kind of the mission, was to say, no.
That's a good mission, because if you do it yourself, you're not beholden to anybody, and it makes people like him more trustworthy. People that don't have to simp to their advertisers or people that fund them. People that do it themselves, that, make their own money. They don't work for a company. It allows them to actually be able to voice their own opinions. So I think there is just by going that route gives him credibility.
The immovable standard is,
because if he had bad takes and he went that route, he never would have made it. He wouldn't be anywhere.
Is America first. I'm going to represent it, and the conservative movement is going to have to move to me. I will not move towards them. And I thought, maybe I'll make money and maybe I won't, but I'm going to try it for a couple of years and I'll see how it goes.
So, but the sight picture in your head was enemy is conservative movement.
Yes.
Do you think that was a good choice?
Yes, absolutely.
Rather than like, but why not like Antifa or, I don't know, Anti-Defamation League, or there are a lot of institutions on like George Soros. Like, why would it be their conservative establishment? Why did you think that was important?
Well, I kind of took a page from Trump's playbook, which is that you have to, in the country, the left was hegemonic over all the institutions. And you have this
Hegemonic. What the fuck
organized
does that
opposition
mean?
to the left and the Democrats and all the left-wing controlled institutions. And the organized opposition comes from
Hegemonic, ruling or dominant in a political or social context.
movement conservatism, the Republican Party, Fox News, the sort of constellation of conservative institutions. And I said, the problem is, whether you go Democrat or you go Republican, you're kind of just like getting the same thing. You're getting the establishment effectively. The opposition is basically controlled or moderated. It's not authentic opposition. It's not a true alternative. And so I said, we, and by we, I mean the true America First nationalists, we need to fight for the mantle of the opposition. And then leading the opposition, then we can take the fight to the left as the conservatives, as the Republicans, whatever. But first, you have to win that internal battle among the audience that the conservatives have. Because that's really the problem, is that they have usurped. The base is extremely conservative, extremely anti-left. But the Republican Party, like those that represent them, are not at all. A lot of them are atheists, a lot of them are gay, a lot of them are feminists. And so I said, like, we kind of need to rally like Trump did.
And I will say, you can be atheist and you can be gay and you can still be a Republican. That's kind of where I was talking about this earlier. Same with Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes, religion does get in the way sometimes.
Rally the base against the establishment and then take the fight to the left as the true alternative. And if you can win that, then you win the country. That was kind of Trump's model.
What did you see as like the most important gatekeepers that needed to be overturned, pushed aside?
So currently, most important gatekeepers that need to be pushed aside. I almost want to say Trump. I mean, Trump is just so in love with Bibi nowadays. Yeah, he might be the main one. Like if Trump went out and just said like, hey, this like Israel lobby AIPAC, it kind of has a little bit too much influence on our government. I think that would just, it would set everything straight.
In order to do this,
it was the Zionist Jews like Dave Rubin, like Ben Shapiro, like Dennis.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro. That's a good answer. I'm not familiar with Dave Rubin.
Prager.
Oh yeah, the PragerU. That's another good one.
It was these the guys that were really controlling the media apparatus that seemed to me to be the biggest impediment.
Sure.
Fox is not a Jewish business though.
Well, Rupert Murdoch is an ally of Netanyahu, so he's aligned.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he owns the whole News Corp empire. So, and yeah, he's certainly a part of it also.
I mean, Dave Rubin, though, does he matter?
No, not really.
Right. I mean, Dave Rubin is like, I don't know. Do people watch Dave Rubin?
I don't know who he
is. They did
is.
back then. I mean, because you got to consider they were kind of like the ascendant new media, They represented the next big thing.
I mean, and Ben Shapiro seems irrelevant to me now.
But back then.
Agreed. He's irrelevant now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe.
I'm glad we're all on the same page. Ben Shapiro is irrelevant to me, Tucker Carlson, and Nick Fuentes.
You won.
Oh, certainly.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that many Americans.
Sorry about the ads, guys. We gotta support Tucker's channel. We're gonna take a minute break here. About 30 more seconds, then we'll get going.
you. And the amazing thing is, with these new batteries, we use one at home. For power you can trust this winter, lastcountrysupply.com. So here's my question. So I look at the landscape now and the people I see as, I'll narrow it down to foreign policy. Okay. Who is effectively opposing neoconservative foreign policy, which has been the dominant foreign policy of the United States for my entire life, which has been so destructive, I think, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
Who are the voices who are sincere in their opposition to that and who have some ability to change?
I would say it's both of them, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and then you got MTG, Thomas Massey, Candace Owens, even though she's not a politician. There are a lot more. Those are just the ones that come to my mind.
The country's orientation on foreign policy, and those would include Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Yeah.
J.D. Vance.
No, I don't necessarily
Matt
agree with
Gaetz,
that. Yeah, Matt Gaetz.
Me.
Yeah.
But you've attacked all of those people.
Yeah.
Why?
It's called getting views, Tucker. Learn about it.
I would, in an almost Joe Kent. Those strike me as someone who's really interested in this topic. I'm not that interested in the Jews, but I'm very interested in the foreign policy question.
I didn't say it. He said it.
Those seem like the most sincere people. Those seem like the only hope of the country to get away from this destructive, really self-destructive cycle. Why attack them?
Well, in short, they attacked me first.
Yeah, but who cares?
Well, let's take Joe Kent.
I mean, you attack me constantly.
Hell
And
yeah.
I'm I don't really give a shit. I want to meet the guy.
You attacked me first, too.
They're talking about it.
What I'm saying is I'm not whining about it. I'm just saying so, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't say so because, take Joe Kent, for instance. I supported Joe Kent, and I talked to Joe Kent. I got introduced to him by Matt Brainerd.
I don't know
Matt
who
Brainerd
Joe
went to my
Kent
conference
is.
in 2021. He bought a table.
Was he his campaign manager?
He was.
Okay.
Or he was a consultant, but he was,
Right, you
he was
worked on
on
the
the
campaign.
campaign, yeah. And so I met Matt Brainerd. He liked me a lot. He loved my conference in February 21, which he bought a table at for his organization, Look at America. And in 2021, and by we, I mean my nonprofit and myself and my team, we wanted to support America First candidates in the midterms. Like you said, authentic opponents.
Me too.
Yeah. And
That's
so
how
was-
I found Joe Kent.
Yes.
Here. That's
And,
Joe Kent.
So I met a lot of the people in that sort of scene. Like Ryan Grodowski, I know, is very supportive of Joe Kent, and other people that are more private, I don't want to name, but they put me on, not just to Joe Kent, but Patrick Witt in Georgia, Gibbs in Michigan, a lot of different people.
So Joe Kent used to work for the CIA, and he was running for the U.S. House of Representatives. And I'm guessing he was an America First guy. I don't really know. But to add to the conspiracy here, we've heard allegations that Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson are CIA assets. So it wouldn't surprise me if this conspiracy is true, that they would support Joe Kent, who is ex-CIA. Just, throwing that out there. It's interesting to me.
And Joe Kent was one of them. And I had a phone call with Joe Kent. And I told him, I had my assistant on the phone too, who's Jewish, by the way, just because I want you to know I'm cool like that. I don't judge. So I'm on the phone with Joe, and I said, look, we support you, and we want to do everything we can to help you. We want to have my followers knock on doors for you. We want to boost your social media. Anything that you need, we want to help you. I said, and we don't even want to be publicly associated. I said, because we know that might hurt you. I said, the only thing that we ask in return is you can't disavow me if the media asks. And you can say whatever you need to say, but you can't disavow. And he said, yeah, I totally agree with you, because if we start disavowing each other, then we're just going to eat each other alive and the left wins. We're in agreement. And a couple months later, Joe tweeted in support of me because I had been banned on all social media. I was on the no-fly list. So he said something on Twitter like, Nick Fuentes shouldn't be banned. He should not be censored. A month after that, I put out on Twitter, I said, Joe Kent is one of the most impressive America First candidates that's running in 22. Well, fast forward a whole year later, I do my annual conference, AFPAC, in February 22. Marjorie Taylor Greene attends. We had 1,200 people, and it got a lot of media attention. And I'm driving home, because I'm on the no-fly list at this time. I'm driving home from Florida.
Can I ask you, pause? By no-fly list, you mean not extra scrutiny, but like not allowed to fly in airplanes in the United States?
Not allowed to fly, yes.
How old were you?
I was 23.
Did you have any felony convictions?
No.
Okay. I wasn't even aware that could happen. How long were you not allowed to fly in airplanes in the United States?
1 year.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I just want to get that out there.
No, yeah, it's brutal.
And you can.
Yeah, they can do other stuff too. So it's not just the no-fly list. They can do other things like censor you on social media and debank you, so you can't use credit or debit cards or put your money anywhere in the bank. Or they can do things like they took down his YouTube channel, like they can demonetize you. They can take away your income. They can take away your way to buy things or pay for things or store your money. They can make it so you can't travel. And what else was there too? There's a couple other things as well. But just to keep that in mind, like that was like the America we were living in during COVID. And he didn't do anything violent. All he did was just voice how he felt, which like you're allowed to do. So it's so interesting.
From that, you were not allowed to fly in airplanes.
Yes,
period.
I have the letter from the TSA. Yeah. I was on the do not board list.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's crazy. But so anyway, so I'm driving home from Florida after my conference, and I get people start texting me. Joe Kent is on Twitter, and he says, I condemn Nick Fuentes, especially his views on Israel.
Ugh.
That's the tweet. And I texted Joe, and I said, seriously? And he texts me back, and he says, we win by addition, not subtraction. I go, well, you just subtracted me out of the movement.
Right.
Because I don't support you anymore. He goes back for seconds. He goes on Twitter and says, Nick Fuentes and his focus on race and religion does not fit with my message of inclusive populism. Inclusive populism. That doesn't sound like authentic America First. That sounds like bullshit to me. And I don't know. I know he's your friend, but I don't know him that well. And
Right.
I'm not on the team.
Well, so my read on Joe Kent was he's totally sincere. He, like me, has always been committed to separating out like foreign policy views from ethnicity, not because, obviously I'm denounced as an anti-Semite every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really care what ADL thinks of me, but my Christian faith tells me that there's no such thing as blood guilt, and virtue or sin is not inherited. It's not a feature of DNA. So every person must be assessed individually as God assesses each person individually. And that's like a foundational view. So I always thought it's great to criticize and it's question like our relationship with Israel.
Tucker, you don't need to spend 2 minutes rationalizing how you're not racist. Like, no one's saying you're racist here.
Because it's insane and it hurts us. We get nothing out of it. I completely agree with you there. But the second you're like, well, actually, it's the Jews. First of all, it's against my Christian faith. Like, I just don't believe that and I never will, period. And second, then it becomes a way to discredit. That's when I was like, this guy's a Fed.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally convinced you were a Fed because I was like, here he's bear hugging like the one sincere guy who lost his wife in Syria thanks to the fucking crazy wars, neocon wars. And he's discredited. He's doing the David Duke. Like David Duke would always, every time I rolled out a new show, he would issue an endorsement of the show. I've never met the guy. What's that? Well, it's the Feds. Obviously, he's trying to destroy me by association. Whatever. You see the point?
Yeah, but so let me ask you this. So if I'm supporting Joe Kent, I'm David Duke bear hugging. if I attack Joe Kent, I'm attacking the only sincere America First
Look,
voices.
I get it. I mean, I do get it, and I just want to say I love Joe Kent. I don't. Again, having been denounced by a lot of people I like, I know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely am sympathetic to that.
Yeah.
I was denounced by someone I like last night. I hurt my feelings. You know what I mean?
Oh, your feelings got hurt,
I'm gonna say what her
Tucker.
name is, but I helped her. I liked her. You know, it's like, why are you denouncing me? Why didn't you call me?
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
get that. I guess the two problems, but then on the other hand, like one of my favorite people in the world is Glenn Greenwald.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Glenn.
Oh, what a good man. Glenn must have spent like 10 years attacking me full time. Tucker Carlson is da-da-da-da-da. And some of his criticism was correct, actually. You know, a tool of the neocons, endorsing these fucking wars. Like, he was right. But he really hated me. And then when we started to agree on
That's what's great about Tucker nowadays. He can say stuff like that.
stuff, I was like, you know what? It's not about me. I don't care. Like, I don't want personal pique or my hurt feelings to govern my behavior. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not lecturing you. I get it. But I feel like, okay, he pissed you off. It's in a campaign. He's got 19 consultants. This kid's a Nazi. Be careful of him. Like, I don't know. Let it go.
Well, and I totally agree with you, by the way. And that's why I don't take it personally at all. Like, and I like you. I've said very positive things about you on my show as well. I
don't care.
And I know, but I need to say that
I don't care.
My goal is America first.
Right.
It's not about me. It's not about my personality. It's about winning for America, you know, and by winning, I mean, we want to see our vision realized. But with Joe, for me, it was very specific that he said inclusive populism. And I really didn't like that because to me,
Yeah, so it's very possible that Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and Joe Kent are all agents. Just a heads up on that. That's who they're talking about right now.
there were a lot of similar phrases at this time: multiracial, working class, populism, this kind of stuff. And I said, you know, on some level, we do need to be exclusive, not inclusive. We do need to be right-wing. We do need to be Christian. We do, on some level, need to be pro-white, not to the exclusion of everybody else, but recognizing that white people...
This is where people call him a white nationalist, and I think putting that in the headline is misleading.
have a special heritage here as Americans. And so the reason I opposed him in 22 was not because I was mad, but it was to say America First cannot backslide into this kind of inclusive populism message, which I perceive to be more like GOP slop. And I'll tell you, when he ran again in 24, I did not oppose him. I did not oppose him. And I would have supported him if he had reached out or something like that. Because for me, it was very political and professional. I wanted to impose a cost. If you disavow someone because they criticize Israel, if you disavow someone for talking about white people and Christianity, I said, we can't let that slide because, and you understand why he did it. Like, I don't, on some level, I don't hold it against him in the sense
He wanted that APAC money, brother.
that there's such a strong incentive. It's easy to say, I disavow all these crazy Christians and all these crazy white nationalists, because it buys you wiggle room with people that are attacking you. It's like easy to throw them under the bus and say, I'm one of the good guys. And so I said, it's too easy. We need to push in the other direction and say, you should feel less.
All right, sorry to get weird. Do you hear how he sniffs all the time?
Attacking you. It's like easy to throw them under the bus and say, I'm one of the good guys. And so I said,
he's like itching his nose.
It's too
and sniff it.
Did it for a very specific the other direction and say, you should feel less
It's like sniffing.
Comfortable saying that people shouldn't talk about their race and religion. Maybe you'll think twice next time. And so I did it for a very specific reason. And
I get that. What I do think is bad, just objectively bad and destructive, is the all Jews are guilty or all anybody is guilty of anything, because that's just like not true. And we don't believe that as Christians. I mean, my hero in life is Paul. I guess you call him Saint Paul. Saul of Tarsus, a Pharisee.
Yeah.
And meets Jesus and becomes this just incredible man, incredibly brave, smart, loving, like everything you want to be as a man, he was Jew.
Yeah.
So like, and God did that to him. So it's like, you can't, I think that's and I don't think it's like mushy liberal bullshit, which I hate.
Mhm.
And I hate all the language that you're describing. I get why it offends you, because it's code for, I don't really believe what I'm saying.
Right.
I have a PhD in the subject, so I know. But I also think there's like a true, not just principle, but like spiritual reality that we have to defend, which is God created every person as an individual,
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that part.
not as a group. No woman gave birth to a community. Like, we hate that kind of thinking,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Collectivist thinking like that. That's identity politics. That's what Dave Rubin engages in. That's why Dave is like just a child. Like, you don't pay any attention to Dave because he's like shallow. But we're not going to be that, right? Or no?
No, I completely agree with you. And, and not to be that guy and say that thing, but like, my best friend is a Jewish person, but here's my substantive disagreement, because as a Catholic, I could not agree more with you.
Yes.
In what you're saying. I love all people, even the ones that don't like us. We have to love them all. And we have to recognize that
we're required to.
Yes. And especially Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people. And so they actually have special protections under the law, according to Catholic philosophy. But I guess my substantive disagreement, which I've said on the show also, is the idea that neoconservatism and Israel has nothing to do with Jewishness, Jewish identity, the Jewish religion, because clearly the state of Israel and the neocons are deeply motivated by that ethnic identity, and their allegiance to Israel proceeds from that. The plan of Greater Israel, the blood and soil nationalism
We have covered that conspiracy on the channel.
of Israel.
But there are pro-Israel people that do support expanding Israel. That part's not a conspiracy.
It stems from this ethno-religion, which is Judaism.
Well, this is, just BLM, the new version. This is identity politics. They're engaging in identity politics. I mean, that's just so obvious to me. But the problem in your response, I get what you're saying, but the problem in your response is it does not apply to every individual.
No, and I would never say that.
Okay. Well, I just think it's important to say that, not to kind of like dodge the accusations against you. My best friends are Jewish. Like, okay, I agree. Embarrassing, even though it's probably true. And it's true in my case, actually. But whatever. But because just that principle that we're all judged as individuals by what we do, that our faith, the decisions that we make, the way we live our lives, and God will judge every one of us in that way. And that's how we're supposed to judge. Like, I think that's true.
Yeah, and I totally agree. But I guess the disagreement is you say identity politics like it's a bad thing. I think identity is a reality.
Identity is a reality. Absolutely. You just can't have a country of 350 million this diverse where it's just like warring ethnicities, because then it's Rwanda soon.
Yeah.
And, the people
Rwanda
with
or
the
South
most force
Africa.
just kill the others. So like, you can't have that here.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, but I would say specifically as it pertains to, you, I think, have said it's the neocons, and I think that neoconservatism, where does it arise from? It arises from Jewish leftists who were mugged by reality when they saw the surprise attack in the Yom Kippur War.
Yeah, that's a lot of it for sure. But then, like, how do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz?
They like winning elections, and to do that, you just take AIPAC money.
And there are a lot like that. John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all. George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I can just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like, what? Because
Ooh, are they being anti-Semitic right now?
it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian. That's why. So I don't why not? Like, I'm pissed at the neocons, very pissed. I've said that a million times. I've been mad since December of 2003 when I went to Iraq. And so like I went and asked straightforward questions to Ted Cruz because that seemed like there's a sitting senator who's like serving for Israel by his own description. He seemed like a worthy target. I'm not going after MTG, who's like the most sincere like, why not go after Ted Cruz? I don't understand.
Well, again, with Marjorie, I was a friend of hers, and she spoke at my conference, and then the day after, she pretended like she didn't know me. And that was in 2022.
But it's a continuum. Like you said yourself, you showed up in college, like one set of views, they evolve as you interact with reality, as the reality itself changes, as like you learn things, you grow, like whatever, people change.
Well, and look, now that everyone agrees with me, I will graciously forgive them for being
But why
so
make
hostile.
it personal? Like, who cares?
It's not personal for me. Like with Marjorie, if she wanted to, be aligned or whatever, I would totally be on board with her.
But where do you disagree with her?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't know what her new views are. She's really only come around on Israel this year, and I've been talking about this issue
I think a lot of people really have recently.
for 10 years. And
Right? Okay. All right. You win. But like,
no, but it's not like
isn't
that.
it-
It's just, it feels like BS to me that, and I said this on Twitter the other day, it's like I got treated like I didn't exist.
Right, I get
and canceled for 10 years for saying these things. And that's really where all this
Not just canceled, put on a no-fly list, debanked. He literally had murderers show up to his house to try and kill him. The amount of shit that he went through, it wasn't just he got canceled. It was to the extreme, way worse than that.
drama comes from. A time when there was this intense censorship and nobody was on board with this stuff. Like, again, Marjorie, she fired one of my people was working in her office. She fired that guy because someone found out that a groyper was working in her office. And, that guy got his life ruined. And she pretended like she didn't know me and lied and said, I had no idea the conference I was speaking at. She knew exactly what it was. And that's fine. But now that she's on the same page, there's like this expectation like, okay, well, why did you have a problem with her in the past? It's like, because she was on the other team in the past.
yeah, well, so was everybody.
Yeah,
I mean,
so now
so are
that-
you.
Yeah,
I mean, so what? I mean, what? Why not? It's got to be bigger than just like us, right? And it's not, I don't think, well, I'll speak for myself.
I think Tucker, these kind of people, Tucker, MTG, Nick Fuentes, are trying to take over the Republican Party. And I think it's for the better.
I don't feel like I'm at war with the neocons or Israel. It's much bigger than that. It's like you want to restore America to a place where your grandchildren would enjoy growing up. That's it.
Bro, she's actually great. I just never knew about it because like she didn't get elected until 2020, and then right after January 6th, she didn't condemn Trump for January 6th, what a lot of people did, even a lot of Republicans like Mike Pence and all them. And basically, that's where my opinion of her formed. I was like, oh, she just must be one of those shitty, crazy Republicans. But then you just look at her voting record and look at what she's said and how much the people in her district like her. Like her polling numbers are insane. People love her. And then also, I believe she hasn't taken like crazy donations from specifically AIPAC and other like aligned lobbyists. So
I'm pretty sure she
swear to
was
God.
bought by the military-industrial complex.
maybe, yeah, I don't know, but she's not pro AIPAC. So I don't know, because I feel like you have to have both. You can't just have one and not the other. So I don't know about that. But again, I don't know too much about her either, because it wasn't until recently, like within a month or two, where I actually started like reading the shit she was saying, and it was making sense to me. I never really followed her before then.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and as far as Marjorie,
So it's not who cares. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, lots of people hurt if Dave Rubin called me tonight, which he would never do, though he has my cell, and said, I'm really sorry I called you Hitler. Like, I didn't mean it. You're raising lots of legitimate questions, which I think I sort of agree with or am thinking about in a deeper way. I'd be like, great.
yeah.
Like, I
Well,
don't care.
And look, Tucker, that's why I'm sitting here, you know?
Right.
I mean, because we had a contentious dialogue.
Well, I
for
thought
a
you
long
were
time.
a Fed. I was
and I thought you
I
were a
thought
Fed.
you were a Fed. I thought you were a Fed.
Yeah.
They did it.
He was in New York.
Oh, fuck. I lost our spot. Where were we?
Motivated by that.
They did it. That was our prediction. Our prediction was it was going to be the Spider-Man meme. We're going to have Nick called Tucker a Fed and Tucker called Nick a Fed and then point at each other. Our prediction came true. All right. Now, I don't know where we were.
Just BLM, the new version.
Positive things about you on my show as well. I
Don't
think,
care.
and I know, but I push in the other direction and say you should feel less comfortable saying that people shouldn't talk about their race and religion. Maybe you think twice next time. And that
Zionists who are, Christian Zionists, like America to a place where your grandchildren would enjoy growing up. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
All right, somewhere
and
around
as
here. I
far as
think.
Marjorie,
So it's not who cares. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, lots of people hurt my. If Dave Rubin called me tonight, which he would never do,
dialogue.
well, I
for
thought
a
you
long
were
time.
a Fed. I was,
Yeah, and I thought you were.
Like, well, I don't care.
Okay, here it
That's-
is. Here it
and
is.
Look, Tucker, that's why I'm sitting here. You know,
Right.
I mean, because
I thought
we
you were a
had
Fed.
a
I thought you were a
contentious
Fed.
dialogue.
Well, I
for
thought
a
you
long
were
time.
a Fed. I was,
Yeah, and I thought you were a Fed.
I was a Fed.
Yeah.
I'm not a Fed. But whatever. I don't care what people.
Yeah, we
think.
showed each other a badge as we know well.
No, but I thought you were a Fed because I was like, why not? It's not cucking to say you're not talking about all Jews when you oppose a foreign policy position. It's not. There's nothing liberal about that. It's just true. That's the Christian position.
Mhm.
Okay. And two, why are you attacking like the best people and not?
Don't gatekeep that position, Tucker. It's just the logical position to understand that you can critique Israel and you're not critiquing all Jewish people. Who doesn't agree with that?
The worst people.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, he disavowed me for my views on Israel and said I talk too much about white people and Christianity. And to me,
Right.
that's like a sincere ideological disagreement.
it.
And, same thing with Marjorie. Marjorie fired my guy. She disavowed me. And, and you worked with Blumenthal on that article, but you called me on the phone and we talked.
I
and
mean,
we
I
settled
was
it.
like, what? From my perspective, I mean, this is all so stupid and inside baseball and whatever. But for the record, I was like, first of all, who is this kid? I'm working at Fox News. I'm aware there's an internet, but I'm more out of it than you may appreciate. And I'm like, out of nowhere, attacking this one. I had Joe Kent here to my house and did this interview with him. And I'm always in search of a sincere politician. Don't have to agree on everything, but I really believe sincerity is the whole game. If someone's heart is pure, he will be brave. I always have thought that, and it's turned out to be true. Marjorie's a perfect example. And
As long as
that's
your
all that
heart is
matters. If you're
pure.
afraid inside, if you're weak inside, you will crumble when it matters. So I really felt like, wow, Joe, don't agree with him on everything, of course, but I was like, this guy is really sincere. He's like a good person. And then you show up and you're like, he's a CIA officer and he was a CIA contractor, but like really,
Yep,
like
he
crush
was.
the guy.
He has
It's like,
CIA
why,
ties.
of all people,
Joe
you
Kent.
agree on 90% of stuff.
Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson's dad. Just saying.
Oh, they're all spooks.
All three of them could be.
God damn.
No, that was my view. And I was
Right.
like, well, clearly this kid's a Fed.
Right. But you didn't know the whole story.
I
so,
didn't. Oh,
yeah.
You're absolutely right.
And look, now that, and I want to be, I'm not trying to be combative. I think that.
Go ahead. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I mean,
No, I mean, here's what I'm trying to say is now that Marjorie is
How can I
pushing in the
be
right
offended?
direction, I absolutely support everything she's saying. And I've not been critical of her at all
Ooh, I was just saying that a couple minutes ago.
this year.
Yeah.
Because I think that what she's doing is extremely courageous. And I think you're right. She is sincere.
So it sounds
think
like
so.
your, not to put words in your mouth, but your life experience has left you so stung by the Republican establishment. You don't trust anybody. It sounds like.
Well, no, I mean, these people attacked me when the rules were different, and now they got better, and now I'm good with them. I mean, I'm willing to be good with them, but
He's willing
I think
to.
that I don't know if Marjorie still has a problem with me or not.
I
don't
doubt
know.
it.
I don't know. I do know though, and this is the last criticism I will level, and this maybe not even your fault, but I do know that, the coordinated attacks against totally reasonable questions about what's in America's interest and what's not, those are all coordinated by the Israeli government. It's all come to light now. And they're against me. I've always thought I have the world's most moderate position on Israel. Don't hate Israel. Just don't want to get involved in their wars. Don't want to pay for them.
Right. Yeah. To call Tucker anti-Semitic is like, if you're pro-Israel, it's just bad for that cause, because Tucker really he's not pro-Israel over America, but he is pro-Israel. He does support Israel. So to attack him for that is just such a bad idea.
This don't want to pay.
Like, attack a real person that's anti-Semitic, like Hassan Piker.
For abortion on demand in a foreign country, sorry. When we're cutting food stamps on our own, like, that's outrageous. It's not America first. That's my view. I'm not embarrassed of it at all. They are totally determined to take me out, I think because I'm reasonable. Who would disagree with that?
Yeah.
And call me all these
names. He claims that all of his opinions come from, like, his religion, but it's just because he's reasonable.
Names, the most dangerous anti-Semite. I'm not even an anti-Semite. And
he's not.
They're not doing that to you because, this is my view, and that's not necessarily your fault, but because they're like, Fuentes discredits the reasonable people because he's always banging on about the Jews. And so he makes everyone else look like a Nazi. And so it's like he's playing a pretty valuable role in the same way that Israel has always funded extremism throughout the Middle East, including Hamas, because it discredits the reasonable people. That's a fact.
Yeah. I would just say I disagree. I mean, because you said the other day, they like me. I don't know what you're talking about when you say that. Because,
I don't know.
Let me just kind of rebut that.
Well, by the way, I'm not saying you have anything to do with this. I'm just saying I've noticed the phenomenon.
Totally. And I just reject that because they have been messing with me for my entire adult life. I mean, the ADL got me banned on YouTube. The SPLC posted my house on their website.
What do you mean posted your house?
They posted a photo of my house on their website.
How can they do that?
I guess that's a free speech thing.
The SPLC posted a picture of your house on their website?
Yes.
When?
In 2022.
Actually?
Yes, they wrote an article.
Actually?
They said Nick Fuentes bought a building in this city, and they said we interviewed his neighbors and property records reveal this and that. And on the front page, the picture for the article is my house where I live.
Basically, they doxed him.
That's crazy. And then someone showed up with a gun and tried to kill you at that house?
Yes.
And that person with a gun had already killed 2 people, I believe, that same day or the day before, and got in a shootout with the cops, and the cops killed him. That person was going to kill Nick Fuentes, like, for sure.
So that's why I say, you say, well, they're not doing this to you. It's like the ZOA, the SPLC, the ADL, the Daily Wire. All these groups have been on me for years. So that's news to me if they're really endorsing my activities.
It could just be my perception. But I guess what I'm saying is, as someone who thinks his own views are like completely reasonable, pass every smell test, you could x-ray my soul. I don't think there's a lot of hate in there. And to the extent that they do make me feel hateful, the people who attack me, I do like say prayers about it. We're not allowed to hate people as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's like our core prayer. So I just feel like it's I don't know. Am I being paranoid? I feel like going on about the Jews like helps the neocons. That's
what about my views do you think?
I feel like the neocons are all either dead or about to retire because they're too old. So no need to worry about that.
I think are unreasonable if yours are reasonable.
I think, again, I don't think it's cucky. I think it's reality to say that guilt is not inherited. Blood guilt is bad. One of the reasons that I'm mad about Gaza is because the Israeli position is everyone who lives in Gaza is a terrorist because of how they were born, including the women and the children. That's not a Western view. That's an Eastern view. That's a non-Christian. That's totally incompatible with Christianity and Western civilization. They say, oh, we're the defenders of Western civilization. Not with that attitude. You're not. Collective punishment is the enemy of Western civilization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I hate that attitude. It's genocidal. The current claims that I'm a cancer, from Ben Shapiro, whatever.
Who had on their 2025 bingo card Tucker Carlson would call the war in Gaza a genocide? Wasn't on my bingo card.
Need to be excised from the body of
It was on
conservatism.
mine once he
genocidal.
lost his job at
At
Fox News.
Dude, I didn't think he was going to go unhinged and start saying real shit. I never saw this coming ever.
Well, this is, I mean, after he quit Fox News, this is exactly
After
what
he
you
got
think
fired.
would happen.
After he resigned.
Yeah, I'm sorry. After
because he was going to get fired.
Yes, and that was.
I'm glad this happened, but no, I did not see this coming.
I mean, you can see people like Don Lemon though doing the same thing. The only difference is that
A couple
Tucker
IQ
Carlson,
points.
Well, Tucker Carlson was the #1 newsman.
Yeah,
in
that's
America.
true.
More Democrats watched Tucker Carlson than watched CNN.
Damn, that's hilarious. Yep. Yeah, he had the #1 show.
And that's why they fired him. It wasn't because of the Dominion lawsuit or anything. They already kept him on after he was already in court. They said that any person who took what Tucker Carlson said as for news is not rational. No sane, no rational voter or person would ever think that what Tucker Carlson says is fact, which is the same thing they said about Rachel Maddow as well.
Yeah, it's true.
MSNBC.
They just used it against him.
Yeah, the main reason that Tucker Carlson was fired was because he became bigger than Fox. Than Fox News. Is they had a person who was more representative of their brand than their actual branding, and that's why they got rid of him, because he was starting to say things that they didn't like, and people were going along with it because they liked Tucker Carlson.
Right, he was so popular.
Right?
Again, he had the #1 show. Like it really was the #1 most watched show.
And this is exactly why Tucker Carlson now has his own show, because he knew that too.
Right.
And so he's going to lose a lot of people, because the jump from television to online is something that a large part of his fan base, which was the older people, that they don't necessarily do now.
Yeah.
But he's still, he's still doing all right. He's still in the news. He still goes on podcasts and stuff.
Well, yeah, and he's not beholden to Fox News. He can really say whatever he wants, which just makes him even better, I think.
Well, sure, but conversely, you could also say that now he has more of a reason to say more outlandish things to get clicks, or at least, it could be controlled opposition as well.
It could be. That's my favorite conspiracy with Tucker.
Position that it basically encourages violence, as they well know. The whole thing I hate. Mm-hmm. So, anytime you say a whole group of people is responsible for the sins of some of its members, I'm out.
Yeah, but that's not my view.
It's not. Okay. So tell me your views. Rather than, you're one of those people, one of the reasons I wanted to meet you is you're one of those people who is defined by clips.
Yes.
And I'm one of those people also.
Yes.
Right? So I get it. So I'm going to just shut up and you tell me what you actually believe.
Yeah. Well, and listen, and I appreciate you saying that, because that's just a reality of the media environment we're in. So I don't expect you to know all my views, but as far as the Jews are concerned, I think that, like I said,
he said it,
you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all of those things that you talk about from Jewishness, ethnicity, religion, identity. And let me give you a perfect example. So you say on your show that we need to treat Israel like any other country. And I sort of understand that in principle, because Israel is another foreign country.
Yeah.
But Israel is unlike every other country in the sense that because the Jewish people are in a diaspora all over the world, there are significant numbers of Jews in Europe, but also in the United States. And because of their unique heritage and story, which is that they're a stateless people, they're unassimilable, they resist assimilation for thousands of years. And I think that's a good thing. And now they have this territory in Israel. There's a deep religious affection for the state. It's bound up in their identity, the story of the Exodus.
Yeah, it's technically not a theocracy, but Israel is like a religious state. And there's not a lot of states like that. And the United
It's an
States,
ethno-state.
ethno-state, yeah, and the United States is absolutely not an ethno-state, and most countries are not.
An ethno-state is majorly a population that is also a religion.
From Egypt, the promise of the land, all these things. So let's say in the United States, for example, somebody like a Sheldon Adelson, he's not Israeli.
Who the fuck is that?
Is he an ideological neocon? Does he believe in the promise of democratic globalism? I don't think necessarily. His heart is in Israel. And it's because he is a proud Jewish person. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you are a Jewish person in America, you're sort of, and again, it's not because
Oh, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but a lot of people that are Jewish but don't live in Israel do kind of have a dual loyalty. And I'm not making this up, but you just look at the amount of funds that we give to Israel and the amount of, or how good our relations are with them. And what I just said is obvious.
they're born, but it's sort of a rational self-interest politically to say, I'm a minority. I'm a religious ethnic minority. This is not really my home. My ancestral home is in Israel. There's like a natural affinity that Jews have for Israel. And I would say on top of that, for the international Jewish community. They're extremely organized, and many of them are critical of Israel or Israel's current government or the project of Israel. But I guess what they have in common, unlike, let's say, like Singapore, for example,
Singapore or just most countries,
is that they have this international community across borders, extremely organized, that is putting the interests of themselves before the interests of their home country. And there's no other country that has a similar arrangement like that. No other country has a strong identity like that. This religious blood and soil conviction, this history of being in the diaspora, stateless, wandering, persecuted, and in particular, the historic animosity between the Jewish people and the Europeans. They hate the Romans because the Romans destroyed the temple. That's why Eric Weinstein goes to the Arch of Titus and gives it the finger and takes a picture. We don't think like that as Americans and white people. We don't think about the Roman Empire in 2,000 years ago. They do. And so I guess that's really, and I don't think that's me saying the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. I don't think that's me being hateful. I don't think that's me being collectivist. I think that's understanding that identity politics, whether you love it or hate it, whatever you feel about it, it's a reality that we live in a world of Jews and Christians.
Right. And that's a very Republican take to say, hey, like whether this is right or wrong, this exists in the world and we just have to deal with it. I feel like liberals don't really think like that. They think like perfect world. But a Republican says, all right, this is the world we're living in. How the fuck can we make it better? So, in my opinion, that's a very Republican take.
Christians, of whites and blacks. These identities mean something to us and they mean things to each other, and we can't sort of wish them away. And it feels like white people and Christians are the only ones that do that.
There's no question about that, your last point, for sure. One of the reasons they do that is because they've been taught to hate themselves, of course, since the Second World War. Another reason is, however, the reality of a multi-ethnic country requires you to sort of set aside community or group interests in favor of corporate interests, universal interess.
Universal,
national
not
interests.
corporate.
And you have to do that or else it doesn't work. And so, I agree those attitudes, I mean, certainly in other parts of the world, people think this way, but you can't have that here. And so it's just important to remind everybody that, things may be generally true, but like, again, they're not always true. And there are people who just strongly disagree. And by the way, in the specific case of Israel, there are a ton of Orthodox who I know who are opposed to the state of Israel. They're they're more Jewish than Dave Rubin, a lot more. And yet they oppose it. Jeff Sachs is like the most a wonderful man, who's Jewish and most articulate kind of critic of the state of Israel that I'm aware of. So like, I don't know, that's just meaningful. You can't, if everything is inherited, then there's no hope for the continuation of America. Do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think it's genetically inherited. And what you're saying about putting aside the tribal interest for the corporate interest,
Yes.
that's absolutely the case. And that's the only way the country
It is the case. He's saying that's the only way the country
is going to stay together.
Exactly.
And
That's my concern.
And I absolutely agree with you. I would say, though, that the main challenge to that, a big challenge to that, is organized Jewry in America. I don't think Bill Ackman is capable of that. I don't think Sheldon Adelson is capable of that.
Okay, actually, so I think I know what he's saying. So he's like, if you did let people that were like pro-Israel, people like Bill Ackman, control like the country, basically, if you let them have a much larger influence, since they're pro-Israel, and they are, a lot of these kind of people are like publicly stated Zionists, they're not going to be able to adhere to a country's standards like the United States that's supposed to have a wide demographic of people. It's a multicultural state. If you're pro-Israel, that's not a state like that. You're not going to be able to adhere to that. You're not going to be able to keep those values. I believe that's what he's saying.
I think the main challenge to that, a big challenge to that, is organized Jewry in America. I don't think Bill Ackman is capable of that. I don't think Sheldon Adelson is capable of that. I don't think Yoram Hazony is capable of that, for that matter. And many other, on the right and the left. And I see Jewishness as the common denominator. And you're right. It's not all Jewish people feel the same way. No one would say that, but that does seem to be the common denominator. And I just feel like it needs to be called out explicitly. And I like what you said the other day. If you're serving in another country's military or have dual citizenship, you really can't be a part of this project.
Well, that's an easy one. But I
I
am much more
agree.
comfortable as a Christian and an American keeping it on that level, because it's easy to just set universal rules that apply to everyone, not just the Jews or the Christians or the anybody. Just like Americans can only serve in the U.S. military or they lose their passport. I mean, I don't know. That's not hard. And I don't know. Why not just say that?
Say what?
That. Why not make every statement about how Americans ought to behave applicable to all Americans? Like, it's the defense of universal values that will hold the country together, and the emphasis on parochial group values that will break it apart inevitably.
Because this is a particular issue and it's acute. Like I said, I think they are unique in that way. I think that's a unique issue, especially in the Republican Party.
Yeah,
especially in the
definitely,
conservative scene. And this.
So how would you like this all to be resolved?
What I would like is for the U.S. government to not be influenced by these kinds of foreign allegiances, not with money that comes from, American citizens like Sheldon Adelson, not from foreign lobbyists. So, I mean, in terms of tangible things, I don't think we disagree on any of it. Like registering AIPAC and FARA, banning dual citizenship. Like I'm basically in agreement.
I'm banning dual citizenship outright. I don't agree with, but what I would say is if you want to run for office, you need to disclose if you're a dual citizen or not.
Percent of the public agrees with those things.
So
that's kind of what gets me a little bit annoyed. It's like, these are, like America First, the concept, it's the most popular, self-evidently true idea you could have. Like, don't let foreign powers, especially tiny ones far away, control your country. Like, of course not. Everyone agrees with that on both sides.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to let that idea get subverted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think we agree on that.
But it's subverted when they're like, that's hate. No, that's hate.
That's anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Well, and, here's what I will say. I think that there is increasingly a contingent, because what you're talking about exists. When you say that there are people that legitimately detract from this, there is legitimate racial hatred out there.
Big time.
Yeah.
And it's growing. And
I know.
People on our side are afraid to talk about it because they know, like you said, they're going to get called a cuck or a squish or whatever. And I agree with you. The people that are detracting from that need to be called out. And I think there should be no harbor for cruelty, hatred, prejudice, those kinds of
And
things.
some of them, I'm sorry to be a conspiracy nut. I really try not to be a conspiracy because it's embarrassing,
No.
But after
Give us all the conspiracies, Tucker.
January 6th and just finding out the number of FBI personnel in the crowd,
What was it, 254? We did a video on it. Check out the channel.
it's like, and I've just seen this. David Duke is a great example. Some of these are the Charlottesville rally.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of feds there being like, we're white supremacists. We hate the blacks, using the N-word, whatever. It's like, that's not real. Like there is some of that going on. Don't you think?
I think that there's a lot of sincere people.
Well, for sure. Oh,
that
I
are,
completely agree.
And they're just numbskulls, and some of them are legitimately, they see the opening, that there's legitimate critique of this, and they see an opening to air out their grievances. They get a license they think it's okay now. And I do think it's important to differentiate and say that fundamentally, I guess the word that I would use, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is reassurance, because I think there's a legitimate, there is a legitimate need to reassure people. And this is kind of what I've been doing on these podcasts, that we don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to kill anybody. We don't want to harm anybody. Right. We just want to put America first. And
if you look at how he's acted all these years, you'd know that is true. He's only ever said things. He's never actually went out and like physically attacked someone. And it's quite the contrary. He's been attacked like multiple times. And there was actually someone that like attempted to kill him. So he's right.
I guess, to the extent that I've been taken out of context over the years or things like that, I'm trying to set the record straight and say, and I appreciate you've given me this opportunity. These are my real views. I'm not one of those haters, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I think people should be allowed to describe what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like a basic human autonomy question.
Yeah.
Like if I want to know what you think, I should just ask you and let you talk. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So who's going to be president? Who should be president next?
Who should be president? Well, yay, of course.
You had dinner with Trump.
I did.
And Kanye.
Yo, who do you think should be president next? If you had to pick one person right now.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Who do I think should be president next?
Yeah, you go first. You have to pick one person right now. Yeah. I mean, I don't know either. I don't really necessarily I don't really trust JD Vance, to be honest. What about the Senate majority? What is it, like Mike Johnson? He's all right. I don't know too much about him either. But I don't like Kamala. I don't like Gavin Newsom. I don't like the Florida governor either.
That's a very hard question.
It is a hard question. Yeah. I don't know. I imagine after the midterms, people will start thinking about it and we'll have some candidates.
I mean, I voted for Jill Stein.
Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe I'll change the question. Not if you could pick, but who do you think, if the election was today, who do you think would win?
Oh, I don't.
I think if that's the case, maybe Newsom, unfortunately. He's popular.
No. Are you talking about Democrats?
I'm just talking about if there was an election today and everyone had to vote on who they thought would win. I think he would get the most votes right now. You're just like,
it'd probably be a toss-up between DeSantis and
DeSantis.
Newsom.
Yeah, I don't like DeSantis is the thing. Yeah, I don't know. What about RFK, actually? That's my pick.
I could have voted for RFK, but I did not vote for RFK specifically because of his stance on Israel.
You're right about that. All right, yeah, I don't know.
You know what Jill Stein says about Israel? Fuck off.
Fuck off. All right. Maybe I'll vote for her.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
It was surreal. Because those are my two heroes. Those are my two, like, number one heroes of all time. I've always been a Kanye West fan.
You like the music first?
Yes. The music, the fashion, everything.
Really?
Yes,
Do you wear those weird one-piece shoes?
I do.
You actually do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like in public?
Yes.
Like
You
in
don't think that's
public?
cool?
I don't know what I think.
I'll get you some.
I've worn the same clothes since high school. Don't ask me about clothes. I'm not good at that at all. That's hilarious. So you've always been a fan.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
huge
you
fan.
described your love for Trump, like sincere
Yes.
childhood love for Trump. So what was it like to find yourself at dinner with them?
It was funny because it was literally Thanksgiving dinner. It was 3 days before Thanksgiving. So not only was it dinner, but I'm having Thanksgiving dinner with Ye and Trump at the same table. And these are like my heroes. And the way that it went was sort of interesting.
I know who the Democrats would actually plug. I bet they would try and go for Gretchen Whitmer.
I wish, but I don't know. I think they'd go like AOC before her.
Ugh, the AOC's disgusting.
You don't like her?
Disgusting. She's a traitor, bro. She's a traitor.
Well, yeah, but
everything
still like
AOC
her.
before she got into her Senate seat, it was great. She's exactly what you think we would want in Congress. But nope. As soon as she got in there, Nancy Pelosi said jump, and all AOC asked was how high.
They said, "Hey, bitch, you want to go to the Met Gala? We can buy you a ticket."
That's exactly it. Yeah, we'll get you a nice dress that says "Eat the Rich." That'll virtue signal really well.
But I like how she goes to all the Latino parades in New York City and dances on the floats. I like that. So
yeah, you like your big booty Latinas.
I didn't say that.
He is sort of shy. He deeply admires Trump. He loves Trump. And I like that about him because Ye really admires anybody that's an industrialist. He loves builders, visionaries, architects. He's very into that. So he has a deep regard for Trump. And so at the beginning, it was a little awkward because he wouldn't talk. And he was sort of shy.
Yay.
Yes. Which is surprising, right? Because he's so outspoken. But
it's surprising, but if you've seen any interview with Ye, you know that that's just like how he is. He's a weird dude. He's super cool though, but
he's like bipolar.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, he's got something. He's different.
Trump was trying to get him to talk, and it was kind of like a boomer moment because Trump was trying to get him to talk about like opportunity zones. He was giving him like the black voter pitch, the black Republican.
Really?
Pitch. Yeah. And I was like, dude, like he's not that kind of Republican, to say the least,
Fair.
At this point, I think people know
So what
that.
were you saying?
Well, so eventually, Trump didn't have a lot of luck with him, so he's kind of fielding the table, and he's talking to me. And
Trump does like other people to talk.
Yes. Well, he likes to talk too.
He does. Sure.
Yeah.
But he asks questions.
Yeah, he does.
More than you would think.
Well, he's a good guy, fundamentally.
Yeah.
He's a very warm guy. So he was asking everybody, what's up and who are you? And we got to talking. And, I guess it was going too well because I was being very complimentary of Trump. And Ye was kind of kicking me and saying, like, a couple days prior, we were talking about if Trump and Ye wind up on the debate stage, what is that going to look like?
Oh, that would be
great.
great.
I was coaching Ye, like, these are his weak.
All right, I changed my vote for Ye. Ye would be the next president.
Areas. Like, this is where we got to attack Trump. And so Ye was like, tell him what you were saying the other day. Tell him what you were saying last night.
Tell him what you were saying.
Dude, that's our playbook. Like, we don't want to blow up
I think that's the first time I actually heard of Nick Fuentes was he went on like some podcast and said the I like Hitler thing, and I thought Nick Fuentes was with him there.
Yeah, he did a podcast with Ye. Yeah, and I heard about Ye on that podcast. I didn't know about Nick Fuentes back then, so I didn't know that Nick Fuentes was that same guy until after Charlie Kirk got shot, and I kind of put two and two together because I was looking into Nick Fuentes, and I'm like, he's the Kanye guy.
And Trump was like, go ahead, don't be bashful. Tell me, what is it? And I said, you know what? I said, I think you're one of the greatest living Americans. I said, I'm a young guy. I said, I really have nothing to say other than thank you. I have nothing but gratitude for what you've done for the country. I said, it's really not my place, to give you advice or correct you. And he said, no, don't be bashful. Tell me. And the story that I brought up was, this was really what sent me. in the first Fox News debate in 2015 in the Republican primary,
Yes.
Bret Baier, the first question said, raise your hand if you will not pledge to support the eventual nominee.
Yes.
And Trump raised his hand because that's what he was saying. He said, if I don't win, I'll run independent and I'll make Republicans lose. And so I brought that up and I told that story and I said, I feel like what was inspiring in 2016 is that you were willing to let the Republican establishment lose. Like you were serious about blowing them up such that you are not going to say like Pat Buchanan.
I wish we saw Bernie Sanders do that in that same election on the left.
Who I respect, but Sam Francis acknowledged that was one of his great mistakes, was ultimately endorsing Bush. I said, it showed you were serious. You were playing to win.
Absolutely.
Because you said, I will let this Republican Party crash and burn. I want to run as the Republican, but if I can't, I'll run independent. I said, and that's how I knew you were serious. And that's how I knew you were the guy. I said, and I feel like lately, this was right after Ronna McDaniel became the head of the RNC again. I was like, I feel like lately you're just behind all these people. I said, we're not here for Kevin McCarthy. We're not here for Ronna McDaniel or Mitch McConnell. I said, we are here for you. Like, we will die for you. We are loyal to you.
I'm not going that far. He's saying that, not me.
I said, and when you did that, that showed you could win, and we rallied. I said, so I want to see more like that. I want to see you hit DeSantis, let's say, who is running against him. And he was like, oh, okay. He goes, oh, so you like that? It was right after he called them DeSanctimonious.
Yeah.
I said, that was awesome. You should have kept hitting him. He's like, oh, you like that? He goes, this guy's hardcore. I like this guy, he was saying about me. And so I was trying to just get his mojo back, and, gas him up a little bit. And so that's how it went between me and him.
And what was Ye saying at this point?
Well, he was beaming with pride. Because Trump turns to him and says, who is this guy? This guy's great. And Ye was like, right? And I was like, this is amazing.
Did you call your parents from the parking lot?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never believe. Yeah.
I try never to think like, how will this be perceived? It's better just to like be as honest as you can be all the time. And, and honest people will respond, agree or disagree, but they'll feel your sincerity and your honesty. But there are always people who are going to like distort it. And I recounted basically the Christian gospel at Charlie Kirk's memorial service, and everyone's like, you're an anti-Semite. I literally didn't have one thought about Jewish people. It had nothing to do with that. It was whatever. So, but I was thinking about this conversation, which I'm sure can't imagine in the ways that it'll be distorted, but I do hope that people who want to learn what's happening and who you are will watch the whole thing. It's probably naive hope that it won't be reduced to whatever you're saying something naughty and me laughing and see they're both Nazis. I mean, that's going to happen, of course. But
I think what Tucker's saying right now is this interview is going to get clipped to make them both look like racist, anti-Semitic, white nationalists. I think that's what he's saying. So if that is what he's saying, you're welcome that you can watch this whole video and get real legitimate hot takes from the Pipeline Podcast. So that is, again, I'll say it one more time. You're welcome for that.
To take that risk because I just think it's important to know you're clearly ascendant. You're enormously talented. You're more talented than I am, for sure, as a talker. So, and there've been a lot of attempts to silence you and it hasn't worked. So my calculation.
I would say a lot of the attempts to silence Nick Fuentes have worked. Just, overall it hasn't worked, but a lot of the attempts did work.
I'll just be as blunt as I can be. It's like,
I'll be big.
I don't want to have Fuentes on. Everyone's going to be like, but you're a Nazi just like Fuentes. Okay. But then I'm like, I don't think Fuentes is going away. Ben Shapiro tried to like strangle him in the crib in college. And now he's bigger than ever. So it probably would just be worth hearing what Nick Fuentes thinks. I just want to be transparent about my motives here.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Those are my motives.
This all came about because of Charlie Kirk. So Charlie Kirk got assassinated. Mainstream media for about a day tried to blame Nick Fuentes and say the Charlie Kirk assassin was Nick Fuentes is a follower of Nick Fuentes. And that's basically what brought him on the map.
let me ask you, I referred earlier to the assassination attempt against you, and it's very fashionable, among like the permanent victim class, like every, BLM leader was, oh, they're trying to kill me, or Seth, whatever, from the Babylon Bee, people are trying to kill me, and people use threats against them, which are like daily for a lot of us, as a way to kind of make themselves unassailable or immune from criticism, or to attack their enemies. Your words inspired violence. What is stochastic terror? I can't even pronounce it. It's like some academic term, whatever. But you had a real assassination attempt, like an actual one.
That's what I've been saying. Let's listen to them talk about it. So the way I understand it, there was like some crazy guy that killed like his mom and his sister, and then like drove to Nick Fuentes' house with a gun to kill him. Nick Fuentes called the cops. The cops showed up, and the attempted assassin got in a shootout with the cops and then ended up getting suicided by the cops. That's the way I understand it. It was a legitimately real assassination attempt by a dude with a gun that had already murdered peoples.
Which got no publicity that I recall. What happened?
Yeah, well, it was after the election last year. I put out this tweet and I said, your body, my choice on election night. And, I wasn't, look, I'm not going to apologize for it, but I thought it was like
your body, my choice. That's hilarious. You might not agree with that, but it's funny. And if you're an influencer like him, that's how you make a living. So are you going to blame him? I would blame the incentives that were given to him to make a controversial statement like that.
Weak. It's like a lame joke. It's kind of like the most obvious turn of phrase.
It's a college joke. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
So
it's funny.
I had other good jokes
really
that
funny.
night, but that was like the one that caught on because I just think it captured the imagination of liberals who were like, it's over for us, which it kind of is, but in some ways. But so I put that out there. I didn't even vote for Trump, but I put that tweet out.
Vote for?
I didn't vote at all. I just recused myself. But that's just what makes it ironic because I became in some ways emblematic of the election, even though I didn't participate. But so it got 100 million impressions on Twitter.
Jesus Christ, that is a lot.
And people were saying on the news that kids were saying it in school. It was on like the news that in middle school.
Yeah, so I will say I've heard that phrase before I'd ever even heard of Nick Fuentes.
Schools and high schools, the boys were saying that to the girls, your body, my choice. So it became this thing where it's like, he's creating this toxic environment for women.
Yeah,
so,
a little bit.
The internet lost its mind and people then started posting my address online because they were so unhappy with the tweet. And so on TikTok and on Twitter, a screenshot of my address, my phone number, all my personal information, it went viral. And when I say viral, I mean there were multiple tweets that got 20 million views with my whole readout, all my information.
You can watch a video of the day this happened, like outside the building that he was living in. And it's crazy. There's like a lot of people, and there's even like super like what you would call like a super like white liberal lady, like Karens, like getting interviewed by cops, and the cops are like, what are you doing here? And they're like, he's a hateful person, and someone posted this address online, and I just drove by it just to get a look at him. And it's like, you're admitting to a cop that you're stalking right now, and the cops didn't do anything to them, by the way.
Like your actual address where you spend the night?
Yes, where I live, where I do my show, all of it.
Damn, did you know that?
Yeah, I started to see it. So the election Tuesday, obviously, it was like Thursday that my address starts blowing up. I was going to do a show Friday, and someone shows up to my house. Some weird looking guy shows up to my house and just walks through the yard, walks through the gangway into the backyard, and is just circling my house and then goes away. So we call the cops, me and my producer, and we said, maybe we shouldn't do a show tonight. And that weekend, we hired private security just for the weekend, like 200 people.
You didn't have security?
No, I don't have security. Well, I didn't then.
Of any kind.
I didn't have cameras or anything, even. I had nothing.
And he explains why in that video I'm talking about, where he's interviewed by the Chicago PD. And it's basically because he's still pretty much small time. He can't afford it. That's the only reason he didn't have security, because he couldn't afford it.
I was raw dogging it. Yeah, which was not smart, maybe, but never had a problem like that.
I've always lived that way too.
Yeah. But so that weekend, we hired a security guard just to park his car outside the house and monitor things. Literally 200 people came.
To your house?
Yes. Not all at once, but one after the other. Driving by, yelling, walking by, throwing eggs. Multiple people threw eggs at my house, ordering pizzas, ordering DoorDash, whatever, walking through the gangway. It was like a war zone. Like this security guard was yelling at people all night, and it went on all weekend. And then it went on throughout the next week and the next weekend. And it was bad. I got out of my house. I went to a hotel for a week while this was happening, waited for it to blow over.
You do your show from the hotel?
No, I took a week off.
Wow.
Just
Did
to
you
let
announce any of this in public?
No, I had to keep it very...
Why?
I didn't want to track more of it.
Yeah.
Because if you say, oh, they're here, then people go, oh, no, we got to keep up the pressure,
Right.
or turn it up. And people at that time were talking about burning my house down. Like on TikTok, there were viral videos of people saying, we're going to burn his house down. And then they doxed my parents' address. People were showing up to my parents' house.
Oh.
It got really bad.
That's not cool.
And eventually it just blew over. About a month passed. And at that time, so it was like late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me.
Why?
And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Shut the
I'm a
fuck
fan.
up.
You're a fan of Stalin's.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
He's a fan of Stalin.
he's an admirer. But we don't need to go into that, I guess. Like,
Well, that's okay. Let's get
That's a
back.
whole
We'll
different
circle back
podcast.
to that.
it was weird because the reason I mentioned that, it was almost like, because I woke up that day and I was like, oh, it's December 18th. And I was just like very acutely aware of like, today's like a strange day. This is the day that the attempt happened. And so nothing had been happening for weeks at this point. So election's like what, November 3rd, month and a half has passed. Nobody's coming to my house anymore, rarely. And I'm doing my show like normal. And I'm reaching the end of the show and I see out of the corner of my eye, I get an alert from my Ring doorbell camera that somebody's at the front door.
Oh.
And so I'm reading through my super chats. I'm going through live
You're
chat
on the air.
messages. Yeah, I'm live. And, I'm working through the messages and I'm keeping an eye on it. And I see that this guy has a loaded gun. The guy's
Oh, shit.
Sorry,
standing.
laugh.
Yeah, well,
So you're live, and you
Yes.
see that there's a guy with a gun outside your door.
yes. He's got a motorcycle helmet and a backpack. He's got a gun drawn and he's knocking on the door yelling. And the thing is, I didn't want to tip him off that I knew he was there because I thought, I don't want him to get the drop on me or something. I just didn't want to give him any information about, because I don't know if he's listening to my show. If I start freaking out or cancel the show, I don't know. Maybe he knows more about my movements inside. So I keep the show going for like a minute and I wrap it up very quickly. I finish the show. My producer comes running in and I say, who is that? What's going on? And he goes, oh, I called the cops. They're here. The guy's
Good
gone.
producer.
I said, okay, good. So I start getting changed out of my suit and I hear gunshots go off outside.
Damn.
That's
Yeah.
some Chicago for
And
you.
I literally like jumped to the ground because I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. And I step outside for a minute after the dust kind of settles and there's like 10 cop cars all up and down the street and they have the whole block locked down. Police tape everywhere. There's like a dozen cops. Like I said, the whole block is shut down. The alley is shut down. And they go, get back inside, get back inside.
Oh my God.
We have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what happened. And they wouldn't let me or my producer leave until the morning. That's how late they were there. And finally, at the end of the night, after all the cops left, I came out in the very early morning.
Did no one come and explain any of this to you?
No, nobody said anything.
They should have interviewed him and been like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
It's ridiculous. And finally, I go out in the morning and I asked the guy, oh, okay, what happened? He told me the story. And so it turns out that it's this young guy. He's 23 years old, white nerd, short guy. He was at U of I, University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, about 2 hours south of where I live. He killed 3 people earlier in the day.
It was 3, not 2.
He went to his roommate's house, college roommate's house, killed his roommate, killed the sister, the guy's mother, got in his car, and drove directly to my...
Okay, that's what it was. Sorry, it wasn't his sister and mother. It was his roommate's sister and mother and the roommate, and then got in the car and drove to Nick Fuentes' house to kill him, and he had a gun, and he ended up getting suicided by the cops. And like, yeah, it was like a real assassination attempt on Nick Fuentes. And the only thing Nick Fuentes has done is exercise his right to free speech. Just like Charlie Kirk.
My house, parked outside my house, got out a .22 pistol and an automatic crossbow.
What?
Weird choice. And he knocked on the door, which is where I saw him. He went around the house. He tried the back door, tried the front door, and the cops pulled up. He took off running through the gangway, hopped the fence, ran into the neighbor's house. I guess he went into the neighbor's basement because the door was unlocked. He was hiding from the police. He shot 2 of their dogs, which is devastating. He runs back
Not
outside,
the dogs.
and the cops see him. He shoots at the cops.
Oh.
The cops shot him in the face, and he dies on the spot.
Yeah, don't shoot at the cops.
What was his motive?
They never told me. To this day, I have no idea. There's
His motive was he was convinced by mainstream media that this Nick Fuentes guy is a white nationalist.
no...
They never told
And he
you?
was just,
No.
mentally ill.
So what contact did you have with the police after this?
They came by about a week later. Illinois State Police came to retrieve the ring camera footage of the whole incident. And so they had me download that onto a thumb drive. And that's it. I never heard from the cops, never heard from the government.
Not at all?
That's
No,
crazy.
A guy comes to murder you. He's murdered 3 other people and 2 dogs. He gets shot to death, and no one bothers to tell you anything?
Nope, nothing.
Is it really a country at this point?
No.
I mean,
He's just like,
ridiculous.
no.
so what was his motive? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. So the story that I read online, because obviously the news followed up on this, and they said that, so he was like 5'5". He got, I guess he was involved with drugs, actually, with his roommate. They sold drugs together, something like that. They had a falling out over the drug money or something like that.
Drugs
The
are bad,
roommate beat
okay?
the shit out of him. So bad he dropped out of school. He had this major falling out with the roommate, but they were close, had a big falling out. The shooter took him to small claims court over some money. And I guess this guy was just in a downward spiral. He lost his job. He got in a hit and run crash and ran from the police. Then he was swearing at the cops when they showed up to arrest him. And I guess his life just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I assume he took it out on the roommate and popped off, killed the whole family.
It's horrifying, but how do you fit into that?
So this is just my opinion, speculation. This is like a month after Luigi Mangione. He had on and the shooter at my house had on a motorcycle helmet and like a costume. And so I think he was maybe like a copycat of Luigi Mangione.
Oh, that's a good take. I never thought about that. It's probably true. So yeah, it was someone that was inspired by Luigi.
And he thought he was going to be like a hero and assassinate some reviled political figure who was going viral at that time, being hated for
And I can't believe I have to say this. Killing people is bad.
that tweet. So I think that might have been the motive, but that's pure speculation. I have no idea.
I mean, it's a well-documented fact that all kinds of bad actors use unstable people for political assassinations, right? It's happened. We know it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think this might be an example of that?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so, but it's certainly possible. The reason I say I don't think
It's
so.
kind of funny. I mean, I think of you as conspiracy-minded, but you don't have a conspiracy in mind here.
No, because I really believe that when you look at all these things, and by these things,
The conspiracy is that attempted assassin just fell for that mind virus and believed, he just read mainstream media headlines and never looked into any real information himself and got radicalized. That's the conspiracy.
Things, I mean, these like really disturbing instances of violence like Luigi Mangione or Charlie Kirk or these school shootings, there is something going on with these kids. It's nihilism. It's these people that are maybe mentally defective, extremely online. I think there's like a real problem there. And I don't doubt that sometimes these people are involved with maybe a foreign government or they're being groomed or put up to it by an operative. But I think to assume that it's always that ignores that, like, there's a very real problem of nihilistic, surrealist violence that comes from young people. And, like this guy killed.
It's true. What he's saying, he's not actually being crazy here. So go show up to the next No Kings protest with like a MAGA hat and see if someone tries to steal your rights by taking that hat off your head. Like, it's going to happen. There are people that are a little bit too extreme with their political views. You see it on both sides, but recently we've seen it more on the left.
It's a triple homicide out of nowhere, and then he tries to kill me. I think he just went crazy, but I could be wrong.
I think so too.
Describe the circumstances that have led to this violence. Like, how does a normal kid, young man, go from being a normal young man to being a murderer?
I think that it has a lot to do. If you read through all these stories, they always have a few things in common, which is that, and people have pointed this out, this is not new, SSRIs are always a big one.
Of course.
But what that points to is a depressive streak. It's always somebody that is a loner, socially dislocated, or socially dysfunctional.
Chronically online.
They don't have many real life friends, engage in real life activities, slip through the cracks. That's always how it starts. Then they get into either they're medicated by a therapist with SSRIs or they self-medicate, which is extremely common with alcohol, weed, which is extremely potent now, and you could get THC from like a vape.
Hell yeah, they got that good weed nowadays. But weed doesn't make you kill people. Alcohol does make some people violent. I'll say that. I've seen it.
Vape pen, so it's very powerful, very accessible. When I was in high school, my stoner friends would have to like go on a walk to the park and roll a joint. Now, with the vape, you can hit that anywhere, I guess.
Of course.
It's very discreet.
I mean, he's right about that, but weed does not make you violent. Trust me.
They also do psychedelics. I think that's a huge part of it. And
I would say that you see psychedelic use on the right and the left. And a great example of that is Joe Rogan.
How is that a huge part of it?
I think that a lot of them get turned on. They'll do alcohol, marijuana, and then I think they get into psychedelics like LSD or MDMA. And I think those things induce psychosis, these psychoactive drugs.
Yeah, so I agree a little bit. So say you do have like a severe mental illness and you're doing drugs like alcohol, weed, or psychedelics, and you already have like a pre-existing mental illness. There are instances where it will just really fuck you up.
Whether it's marijuana by itself or it's LSD, I think they
could
tend
be anything
to induce psychosis and exacerbate those like existing problems.
Sure.
And basically what happens, I would say that is maybe the next step. And then the other ingredient that's always there is, although they don't have a social life in the real world, they have a social life on the internet.
Chronically online.
They're deeply involved in obscure internet forums, Discord, gaming communities.
Say Reddit.
So increasingly, ChatGPT is inducing psychosis. People talk to ChatGPT all day, all night. And you basically have, between the three of these things, they kind of go into like a different world. Between the psychoactive substances, the make-believe.
I think this hits back to what I was saying about an hour ago in the stream. It's these liberal extremists, they want the world to be how they see the perfect world as. And that's kind of a big contributing factor to why they end up in these echo chambers.
Reality of the internet totally disconnected from the real world, I think they enter into like this delusional state. And I think that's where that shooter in Minneapolis, I think that's what that was. I think if Tyler Robinson is found guilty, there's been some interesting screenshots about him and his transgender boyfriend. It's the same story there.
He said
if
boyfriend.
That's true. And I would imagine it was not dissimilar with the guy that showed up and tried to kill me. I think those are always the ingredients that produce that kind of violence.
It's interesting, your audience, as I imagine it, I've never seen any of your numbers. I don't even know how big your audience is. It seems big to me, but I think of them as young men.
It's big now.
That's the bulk of your audience, right?
Yes.
I would even say young, white, Christian men is Nick Fuentes' audience.
And yet here you are criticizing weed and video games and the internet, and you work on the internet. You are a creation. I mean, you wouldn't exist without the internet.
There's a difference between working on the internet and being chronically online or stuck in an echo chamber. But Tucker Carlson might not understand that.
Yes.
Of course. You didn't get a job at NBC News. So what kind of reaction do you get when you criticize weed, gaming, and the internet to young men?
A lot of them agree with it because they get it. It's their life. A lot of them, that's their life. Their life is, and another thing we didn't even bring up is the porn thing, which is there also.
Oh yeah, and we're seeing like a crackdown on porn recently. So in a lot of states, you have to like show your ID, and on almost all of these websites nowadays, they're like, there's like a disclaimer, like you have to click that you're like over 18 to even access the website. We're seeing restrictions on this kind of thing nowadays.
This is their life. Weed, gaming, porn. And I think they know it's bad. I think they know there's like some sense of guilt. And so it's interesting. I would say it's maybe an 80-20 split, where 20% say, oh, you're against weed? Not cool, man. It's just a plant. Well, they're very defensive about it, about these addictions. And I think 80% say, I know I have a problem. Like I have a guilty conscience. I know it's bad. I know it's terrible.
Why are you against weed?
Because I think that it's
the devil.
Compromises the integrity of your.
I've heard Christians refer to weed as like the devil. It puts the devil inside you. It's the devil's lettuce. That's a pretty common opinion for these Christian people.
Mental faculties. I think there's something deeply wrong with that. When you, I'm against alcohol too. I think it's wrong to numb pain.
I imagine he's probably against like any like recreational drug just because of his religion. But I will say alcohol is way worse than weed.
I think pain is a part of life. I think sobriety is should be experienced. And I think that weed is even worse because I think that
I don't know about that.
It's very dangerous. There's a lot of numbers now out of California and Washington that people are going to the hospital for psychosis. People are going crazy because of it.
It's also more subtle. And
right. So that is the thing. If you're taking these vape pens, if you're taking a lot of edibles and you do have no offense, but mental problems, the weed is not going to help you. And it really could make it worse and put you in a psychosis type thing. He is totally right about that. That is a real thing.
They're far more insidious. You can't, I've done it. If you have a 12-pack for breakfast, everyone knows. But if you take a hit off the dab pen, nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use it all the time.
It's convenient.
Yeah,
sure.
And it makes you a loser. It makes you lazy. People that are addicted to weed.
Lazy is one way to put it. Nonviolent is another. You can't really say it makes you lazy and it makes you violent because it puts you in psychosis.
Weed are not motivated, don't care about anything other than weed. There's sort of an irony there where I used to hang out with a lot of stoners in high school. I never smoked weed, but all
I do think he's generalizing a little bit.
My friends did. And they were so chill and relaxed and didn't care about anything. But if you criticized weed, they would freak out and get extremely defensive.
Yes, I've noticed.
Right? If you insinuate that it's addictive, if you say it's a problem, they get very junkie behavior.
Junkie behavior.
So I've always hated it. I think it's disgusting.
what is porn exactly? Like, describe how available is porn? What is it? I know what porn is, but like you said, it's a huge factor in the lives of young men and a bad factor. Why?
Well,
Before he responds, I'll talk about it a little bit. So, people are talking about like porn addiction with men, where it's like it's just so accessible that a lot of guys are just spending all their time looking at porn. And um in the past, what would happen is guys wouldn't have access to porn and they'd get super horny, and that's why we're seeing like a population decline now, because guys are jacking off so much they don't want to put up with 2025 females. That's kind of the argument here. It's a funny argument. I will say maybe porn is too accessible, but if you have something called the internet, you can't stop access to information from being like accessed by anyone. So what do you really do about it? Don't ban it. Just educate people better, I guess.
this is another thing where it's reality distortion. That's kind of the theme. Just like psychedelics distort
Sure.
reality, just like a kind of internet society is a form of delusion, so is porn.
Sure, yeah, I
In
mean,
the
it's not
sense that,
wrong.
You know, a lot of people maybe don't realize, and we talked about this a little bit, people are getting turned on to porn when they're like 10 years old.
It's so
And
accessible.
It's when you are going through puberty, when you're developing your sexual faculties, how could you stay away from that? Every kid has a phone, every kid has an iPad, and every iPad and phone is, if you know what it is, loaded up with porn. And
Yeah.
it's infinite and it's ubiquitous, and you can get every kind of it you want whenever you want. It's in your pocket. And so something that is almost never talked about is that this is a generation that's totally sexually dysfunctional, I think, because of pornography.
I don't know if I would put pornography at the top of that list. But I will admit it could be a contributing factor, although I don't necessarily think it's a problem, and I really don't think it's something you can get rid of.
Some people are able to cope with it. Some people don't have a problem. But I think a lot of people, and maybe even a small minority, have a serious problem with it. And the
How does
problem,
it make people sexually dysfunctional?
I think that it's impossible for a real woman to compete with the availability and the novelty of pornography.
Sure.
A real woman, like without getting graphic, she's only one person, and maybe she wants to do something sexual, maybe she doesn't. Porn is, you could have 100 different women in one sitting doing anything, that whatever niche or idiosyncrasy.
I really think he should have hit on the accessibility of it. So what's easier, to go out and, like, I don't know, get a girlfriend or whatever, or just go to like Pornhub? It's just that it's like quick and easy. I think that's the argument he should have made here.
Thing a person might be into, it's there. And so I think that novelty combined with that availability, it makes it so that, when you think about courting a woman, juice isn't worth the squeeze. And so there's like also
That's
a
a good way
problem
to
of like
put it.
erectile dysfunction, people that can't enjoy regular sex.
Also, if you want to talk about ED, I think it's all the SSRIs, just like all the drugs, all the medication that young people are on nowadays. I think that contributes to erectile dysfunction.
Because it does not compare to the intensity, the novelty, and the availability of porn. It's hyper stimulation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can just get it whenever you want it.
And so I think that's sabotaging a lot of normal sexual relationships.
It seems like it's making a lot of
maybe.
people gay too.
Yeah. And trans.
You think that's
Porn's making people gay. That's what Tucker thinks.
true?
100%.
What is that?
What is
I
that?
think that
Hey, did you know porn's making people gay? What's up with that?
the novelty is a huge part of that. I think that if you are somebody that uses pornography multiple times per day, which many people do.
Actually?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a lot of jerking off.
It's a huge
lot
problem.
of jerking off.
Yeah.
And,
that's so gay.
You know, if you're doing that multiple times a day, every day for years since you're a kid, well, eventually.
That's what I was kind of saying. So yeah, eventually it just becomes like a habit. It's like, all right, like say, we're going to talk about guy stuff. So it's like, say for you to like, I don't know, really, really want to put yourself out there and like find someone, date someone. Like if you didn't watch porn for probably, if you didn't like masturbate for probably like 2 weeks, you would be just doing it like every day. You would be like actively seeking like a relationship. But because you have your phone in your pocket, you're able to kind of like satisfy cravings. That's kind of what he's saying there. That it's like a blocker. Not a beta blocker, but like a cock blocker for you to actually like meet like a real woman. And you could even go, there is actually like science into it. So they say like watching too much porn, like masturbating too much could actually lower like your testosterone levels. And if you've ever heard of people taking, I forget the exact word for it, but it's like a tolerance break, an abstinence break. They say that actually like, it like increases testosterone. So, scientifically, what he's saying, there is a little bit of proof to kind of back this up. And that would, totally make sense, because if we look at history, like before porn was a thing, men didn't really have this problem. So I think he's right. I think porn is a contributing factor, but I don't think it's the major factor.
You get bored, and you want to move on to something more extreme. And you're kind of, it operates, I think, similar to like a drug. You kind of have the same kind of resistance to it.
Yeah, if it produces dopamine, then you could compare it to a drug.
That you would to a drug, or a tolerance for it. And you're always chasing that initial feeling the first time you used it, or the first time you saw a certain thing. And I think eventually you just chase more taboo, more transgressive. And I think maybe some people are more prone to that than other people, going in a really extreme direction.
Is how Charlie Sheen got AIDS, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through just being jaded and looking for something more transgressive. That's just a fact.
And
I don't think you can compare Charlie Sheen to the average American male. He's a complete outlier.
And there's something too about what it does when you look at it. Because people don't realize that it is a fundamentally different experience being involved in intercourse versus watching other people have intercourse. And I think that actually
So that's where I disagree. I think everyone is very much aware of that.
Does something to you.
Tell me, what do you mean?
I think that, for example, I think Steve Saylor has written about this, that there's multiple kinds of transsexuals. And he says that one kind of transsexual is somebody that likes the idea of seeing themselves as a woman. It's autogynephilia.
Yes.
Autogynephilia.
And I think that, one of the theories for that is you watch a man having sex with a woman that isn't you so much, you kind of achieve an identity with the woman in like a weird, sick way. You almost
I've never heard this before.
Identify with the woman. And so there's weird things that happen when you're watching that and having such strong emotion.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I do agree with people that watch porn a lot. You always kind of have to up the ante. You have to take it to like a more extreme porn genre over time, just so you can get the same dopamine levels. If you watch the same video every day, it'll get boring. I agree with that part, but I don't necessarily agree that if you watch too much porn, you'll feel like a woman. I don't think that's true.
Emotional and sexual experiences with it.
That's fascinating. I've sensed for a long time, having had a lot of young male employees mention porn as a problem. I mean, the big porn companies give visibility to foreign intel services. on the back end.
Oh, tell me about
So
that. What's that
means
about?
People know what you're looking at. There's likely video and audio.
So he's saying they're selling your porn data to foreign entities. Is that true?
Of you watching.
Now, Tucker, press this issue more. That's how you get Americans to stop watching porn.
So that, that's like so such a deal killer for me. Not a huge expert on the topic, but I have always
Me neither.
sensed this was a huge deal, but I've always been too embarrassed to like do a show on it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with talking about it.
Describing something that's everywhere, that affects everybody, and that is. Do you think it's related to the huge decline in like actual sex and relationships and marriage?
I do. I will admit, I do think it is related, but again, like I said earlier, I don't think it's the major contributing factor. But I'll admit, yeah, I think it is related a little bit. It's unprecedented for people to have that kind of access. It hasn't happened any other time in history.
Screwed up dating. All of this derives in part from porn, do you think?
I think it's a huge part of it. It's a huge factor.
It's a factor. I don't know how
on the other side
huge.
too. It's become so destigmatized for women to actually participate in porn. People don't even recognize that OnlyFans is a whole separate category. It's an innovation in the realm of pornography, because you have what everyone knows as porn, which is like videos of porn stars, like dedicated career sex workers having sex in a relatively controlled environment or something like that. But then you get OnlyFans, which is like Patreon for nudes or sex.
Yeah.
And basically, there's now a very large subculture, much larger than people want to admit.
Yeah, so I guess this is where I really can't give a great opinion anymore, because once you get to OnlyFans, that's when you get to the period where you're so into seeing nudes of this person that you're willing to give them money. And I just feel like that kind of, in my opinion, that does cross a line. You should not be to pay somebody just to see like nude pictures of them or like porn videos of them is I'm not going to say extremist, but it could imply that you do, no offense, have an issue, unless it's like you have fuck you money. But I don't really know. Again, that's something I don't know too much about. But I will say, if you want to talk about the problem with it is you're leading these young women, you're leading them on to make them think that, hey, like your best shot if you're attractive for success is to just make an OnlyFans. And I really think if you want to talk about like feminism and women empowerment, that's just not the place to be. And also, like doing things like porn and OnlyFans as a woman is temporary. You're not going to be able to do that forever. So it might not be the best career path. Also, it's very competitive. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Again, I don't do the OnlyFans stuff, so I don't have like a first-hand experience with this.
Of women who, the moment they turn 18, that is what they do, is they make an OnlyFans account and they become an amateur porn star. And it is completely...
And it's a good way to make money. You can make a lot of fucking money doing that. But it's not really, I don't think it's something that should be encouraged.
Casual. Because you could say that maybe 10 years ago, even at the heyday of internet porn, to be in porn, you got to be a porn star. Like that's your life and that's your career and that's who you are. And it's very shameful. With OnlyFans, it's like having a TikTok. It's like...
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that say like OnlyFans is woman empowerment because, they are the porn star, but they get to create their own terms, which is true and pretty cool. But that doesn't mean that they're role models.
Here's my link tree. Here's my Instagram account. Here's my Facebook account. Here's my YouTube. And here's my OnlyFans.
Why would any of this be legal?
What is illegal about it, Tucker?
I think that Well, there's, like you indicated, maybe there's an intelligence benefit to that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a political benefit to that. I think that
Well, why wouldn't you arrest the people who run something like that?
they should be.
What law did they break?
If you had a Christian government,
Well, we don't, thankfully.
How about just a government that cares about its people? I mean, is Iran a bigger threat or is OnlyFans? Iran's
Yeah. All right, you might be making a good argument there.
not turning my daughters to prostitution
Right.
that I'm aware of.
That's
Right.
true,
Right?
I
I mean, that
guess.
seems like one of the worst things that could happen to any society.
So if you look at it from Tucker's point of view, he's thinking about it as all these OnlyFans women are his daughters, and he would rather have he would rather have Iran do something rather than have his daughters go on OnlyFans. He'd rather have Iran have more influence politically. I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's saying. But I do kind of see his point. Like if you're living as an American and you're talking about what's the bigger problem here, OnlyFans or Iran, you could totally make an argument that OnlyFans is a bigger issue in the United States than Iran. It's not wrong about that.
oh, absolutely.
So how big is the support for that? Like if a candidate were to come out and say, we ought to arrest the guys who own MindGeek, which is the biggest, I think it's the biggest porn supplier in
I've never heard of MindGeek. I don't know what that is.
the world, or the guys who run OnlyFans.
So the guys who run OnlyFans, fun fact about OnlyFans is it per capita, per the amount of employees that work for OnlyFans, they're the most profitable company in the world. So if you like proportion it to where it's like this is your profits, this is the amount of employees you have, they have so little employees and they have so much profits that they actually are considered the most profitable company in the world. So he's kind of saying like, hey, like they're taking advantage of young Americans. They're making it so, they're lowering birth rates. They're making it so males aren't interested in dating, and they're incentivizing women to go into a field that is not something that society should encourage. And he's saying because of that, you should arrest them. There's an argument there. I don't necessarily disagree. But again, these people that run OnlyFans, they're not breaking any laws. So it really is, they're not doing anything wrong, but in his opinion, they are. And there's a good argument there.
What would the reaction be among, I don't know, people under 50?
I think there would be broad support for that.
Really?
I
There
do,
would be
actually, yes.
support.
I hope someone will say that. And
Someone
I
needs to.
hope someone arrests them, like right away.
Yeah. That was actually one
Seizes
of
their assets and puts them in prison.
seizes their
I don't think you could legally seize their assets and put them in prison, but you could make it so, hey, you got to stop doing that. You got to shut down OnlyFans. You could make that happen.
their bodies and puts them in jail. Yeah. I mean,
The owners of that, people who are, I mean, talk about human trafficking.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought we were against human trafficking.
Well, that's the thing. It's not human trafficking because the women on OnlyFans on the website get to decide their terms. They get to decide what they're okay with. So if someone's trying to say I'll pay you money to do something, they can say yes or no. And that's better than how the porn industry was, where these girls were kind of abused.
Yeah. Well,
So you think that young people, because you always think of young people as so liberal, but like, no, they wouldn't think that was crazy?
no, I think especially among young men, they know it's a problem. It's ruining their lives. And they know it.
So what are the other factors that prevent, I'm sorry I called you gay, by the way, but I'm always,
What was the quote? He called Nick Fuentes a little gay boy or something. There was a really good quote.
I think I'm just too old or something. I'm like, why isn't anyone married? You tell me, why aren't people married?
Well, I mean, honestly,
Yeah, Tucker has a very nuanced opinion on anything internet related, especially porn related. I mean, you could tell he's like a super off the grid Christian. So, I mean, honestly, when he talks to Nick Fuentes about stuff like porn, I feel like anything Nick Fuentes says, Tucker Carlson just believes it because he really isn't in that world.
it's the women. The women are extremely liberal. No one talks about that. They're increasingly they do, especially after the last election. There's a 45-point difference between men and women. The men are extremely conservative, increasingly. The women are extremely liberal.
What are they liberal on? What issues? Like, what does that mean, liberal?
Oh, they're very feminist.
And I believe that's not true exactly. So women as a majority are extremely liberal, but if you look at married women, that number is completely the other side.
Like, actually?
Extremely feminist, yes.
They don't believe that, do they?
I think they do.
Really?
Absolutely,
How could
yes.
you believe that?
I
The
think
gender roles are a construct, that none of this is inborn? Like, you'd have to be an idiot to think that.
they like the idea of it. They like because of course I think all women naturally want strong men.
Of course,
They
obviously.
naturally want a chat.
And this is one of those things again where it's like, okay, you want to have two men on a podcast talk about women, and it's like, all right, maybe don't fall into this too much. Just a heads up, but let's listen.
You know, they
Yeah.
want like a tall, buff guy. But I think they like the idea of none of them want to work either. None of them
That's what
actually
I'm
want to
saying.
work.
No, that's what
but-
I'm saying. Of course, that's of course.
Right.
It's obviously true. It's always been true. Work outside the home.
Right.
They don't have enough work at home. You know,
Yes.
there's a lot to do. But no, I completely agree. So that's why I question, like, their feminists in what sense?
Yes. And, you know, they like these vague appeals to equality. We want a chance to work and we want respect. And, you know, ultimately, I think the whole political system is just based around women never being accountable for any of their choices. Ultimately, that seems to be that's what abortion is,
Yeah, of course.
as 99% of abortions are elective. So they say it's an unplanned pregnancy. You had sex out of wedlock with someone you didn't intend to have kids with. So now we have to kill the kids in the womb. And, you know, these no-fault divorce laws. These women get married to guys maybe they never.
So I don't necessarily agree with the abortion part, but I will say, if you look at statistically divorce court, it is true that the woman usually gets ruled in favor of. So that part is true.
Ever intend to stay with, and then when they're out, they're done, and they want child support and they want half the stuff. And I think a lot of men are looking at women, and they're very liberal, they're overweight, they have a very high estimation of themselves. I think that people call it hoflation. they're
Inflation?
yes, they're
A better way to make this point is talk about this thing. It's a new movement. It's called Passport Bros. It's like American young men that they say, hey, all these like American women like expect too much, and they're not willing to like submit. You know, they're not like they're not able, they don't want to do these womanly roles. They want to go work like a HR job or whatever. So these passport bros are just gonna get a passport, go to another country where like, you know, they're more religious, a little more less liberal, and the women there like I'm not saying that this is the right idea or anything, but the women there like they think that like the man, you know, is in charge of the household. So the passport bros movement is just people it's not people, but sorry, young American men going to other countries, grabbing these wives and just bringing them back. I think if he wants to make this point, that's a better way to make that point.
their sense of their own looks and sexual value is very inflated. And so a lot of people are looking at these like frumpy, obnoxious, loudmouth, liberal women who are also very promiscuous.
That blue-haired liberal with the septum piercing. That's the meme that he's talking about.
And saying this is not actually appealing at all. And I don't want to start a family with a person
Sounds
like
awful.
this. Yeah.
And that part is kind of true. So you have to understand, anybody, man or woman, gets to decide who they want to date or have a relationship with. And so for these young men to say, hey, other like American women just kind of expect too much. just to discredit them is not the right idea. You have to understand that they do get to choose who they have a relationship with, and that is up to them. And so to this, just ignore it is not the right solution.
This.
But if you believe in the patriarchy, as I fervently do, because it's just reality, we didn't choose the system.
I didn't say that.
We were born into a system that is part of nature. Can't get out of it. So if you believe that that's true, which it is, then you think that men should lead. And if it's going to...
Yeah, Tucker Carlson just said he believes in the patriarchy because that's just how it's always been. Which is a bad take, in my opinion.
be better, men should make it better because that's their job.
Right.
So you don't want to give them a pass, do you? I'd be like, it's all the girls suck. So
I don't even blame it on the women because I think that it's the incentive structure.
Like,
spit it out, bro. It's a controversial topic.
What if there is one and that's just okay?
Is one what?
A patriarchy. What if there is one? If maybe.
Well, there is, and it's always kind of been like that.
Right, and so maybe that's just okay.
No, I don't know about that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you mean? I guess you have to define the term patriarchy.
Just like since ever, women have been suppressed, and that's always how it's been. So that's how it's gonna be. I think that's what Tucker's saying, though.
I just mean the patriarchy in the sense that men have always been like kind of the leaders, like just for most of they've always been like the leaders in society.
Yeah, and so that's that's a whole. We'll have to do a whole fucking episode on that. So subscribe to the channel if you want to check it out. But it's like, you want to if you want to do that, but you still have to understand that, like, if women wanted to be leaders, they could. It's just maybe the strongest leader in America we've ever seen is Hillary Clinton, and she's not even good enough to win the presidency after about 3 election runs. So it's like maybe women have to take that role more seriously if you want to end the patriarchy.
I mean,
just to
say that the world has majorly been under the leadership of men doesn't mean that there hasn't been women leaders in the past.
There has been, yeah.
Right.
But they would be outliers.
Leader. No, well, yeah, sure, but I'm just saying I think anybody can be a leader, but I think it's just more innate to male human like characteristics to do something like that as to like female, and I think that's why the way that it is still kind of the way that it is.
I agree with that, and I kind of think that's the point they're trying to make here. But that's the thing is people are going to clip this and make it, look like they're sexist. But I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Women are allowed to do this by the legal system, by kind of social norms. Technology is a big part of it. The attention that is available to women. Women go on Instagram and they get attention from thousands of men. I
do want to make one quick point. If I had big ass titties right now, I would have 100 times the views. So he's not wrong.
It's the incentives. But I would say that, because I hear this all the time, people say, well, the men need to step up and be better and lead the women. Easier said than done.
I agree with that.
They're at war with the system, and not even just the system, but also society. Because let's say you find one of these so-called good girls who's Christian and traditional, but through osmosis, wherever you go, she's going to be in society. She's going to be on TikTok. She's going to be on Instagram. She's going to be talking to other women. And maybe she's one way when you meet and get married, but 10 years down the road, 15 years, 20 years down the road, people change. And I think that women, as kind of the ultimate conformists, the ultimate enforcers of like social norms, I think eventually the pressure from society kind of gets to them, and a lot of them will go in a different direction.
Depends what kind of husbands they have. I mean, if there's real leadership.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back into like social media. So it's like all these young girls, like high schoolers or middle schoolers, like, they grow up and they're just seeing like beautifully modified, like literally had plastic surgery, like women on their Instagram feed, and they're just thinking like, oh, I need to like look like that because that's how like attractive girls look. So I do think like social media like fucks up like young women's mental health like really bad, and it doesn't affect men the same way because they're not men aren't like attractive based for the most part.
So
But
what the study is that or what has been shown, the statistics show that ever since social media came out, Facebook, MySpace, things like that, teenage girls have had their suicide or their self-deletion rates go up.
yeah,
Um,
and it's
and I mean,
terrible.
it's also happened to young men, but it's not the same rate as it was
No,
for
I
young.
I believe it's like 75% of young women like it's I forget the exact term for it, but it's where you think like you're ugly or whatever. You have like a
Sure.
yeah, you have like attractiveness issues like you think like cuz there's just so many like beautiful girls like on the internet, and a lot of them are like unrealistic because they've had like these, like surgeries, that if you're like growing up in that world and you're a young woman, it's like totally shitting on you. And we could take this into like the whole like death of the woman as well, and like even bring in like like some kind of trans issues with that as well. But it is a real problem, like scientifically, like you said, like there's been like studies on it.
Well, and additionally, the so one of the other reasons for that kind of thing is that women tend to be more or are more likely to follow trends or to go with like trends like the crowd, like that's it's like some group mentality thing or something like that. I don't know what it's called, but that's like in human psychology that women are more likely to um, want to be a part of a trend or follow a trend. And so when you see all these women on social media getting their lip injections or their BBLs or whatever, that's why there's a lot of that going around because that's the thing at the time.
Yeah, and that just sets like unrealistic standards for women, which, it is a serious issue. It's a real problem.
At home, I don't know a single happily married woman who's liberal. Not one. I know a lot of married women. I mean, I'm 56. All the women I know.
That's what I was saying earlier. So, one of them was saying like women mostly vote liberal or democratic, and I was saying like if you take that statistic and only include married women, that's not necessarily true.
Are married.
Mm-hmm.
And every happily married woman is non-liberal.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine. There's no category for happily married middle-aged liberal woman. There hasn't never been one.
Right.
So like maybe the job is to make a girl happy and like all this nonsense ends.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be a bottomless pit too, because the one critique I have of the men is, and you're right about this, they enable this behavior.
Well, that's for sure.
It's epidemic.
Right. So it's just we were just talking about this last week in the New York City debate where they asked a question. They said, "Hey, should we arrest prostitutes or should we focus on the people who buy these prostitutes and the pimps?" And it's like the same ideology applies to OnlyFans. You want to deal with OnlyFans, are you going to put the people that run OnlyFans in jail? Or are you going to find ways to incentivize these men to not waste their money on OnlyFans? That's a way better solution.
Of simps who,
I know.
and especially with
how would
Christians,
you even go about doing that? What does that mean?
Charge a tax, like just how if you want to go to a dispensary, you have to pay an absurd state tax. Just charge a tax on it, make it so they can't afford it. Um, if you want to talk about the way things have been going with this globalist conspiracy theory, once you get your digital ID, digital social credit score, if you subscribe to an OnlyFans model, you lose social credit. Um, there are a million ways to do it, and I think it's a better way to do it because the people that run OnlyFans aren't breaking the law. So the best thing to do is to just find a way to incentivize these subscribers to not waste their money. I feel like that would help the issue.
I mean, it's bad. Social credit score, that's bad. I don't like what you just said about
Yeah, but
that.
that's the way things are going.
Well, and then on top of that, I don't think taxing's going to do anything. In my
I don't know
state,
if it will either.
in my state, they're trying to introduce an additional tax on marijuana right now, and
An
if it
additional, because it in your state,
yeah,
it's already
yeah,
kind of high.
it's 13% right now, and they want to increase it by another 25%.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that'll price people out.
Or right now, the marijuana companies are all like doing a lawsuit or something, trying to appeal the decision, saying that this is not what the voters voted for. Either way, that's regardless of what the point. The point
Yeah,
is that even if the 25% does go on there, I'm not going to stop purchasing weed. So I don't think a
right.
tax is going to do
And
anything.
that's the thing. I think a lot of these like serial OnlyFans subscribers are like very rich people. And upping a
No,
tax, it's not going to affect them.
you guys didn't hear this from me, but I used to work at a bank, and there was a lot of people who did not care. I saw OnlyFans charges all the time, so I just
Even
disagree
for
with
like
that.
just like normal people.
Yep,
Oh, interesting. See,
yep.
I'm glad you're here. That's something I'm not aware of. Yeah, and that I feel like that is kind of a problem. Subscribing to like uh an internet profile just to get pictures is a waste of money. I mean, we need to find a way to incentivize that. So that just kind of strengthens my take that like put a 25% tax on it. Make it so these people can't afford to do it. That's better than just straight up outlawing porn. I think that's a extremist Christian take.
Think that there
Notice
is
that.
a very moderate um I think there's a compromise that you can have here
Yeah,
where I think for the betterment of society that you need to be 18 years to 21 years old to be able to view it through your browser, and they should gate it behind some sort of ID verification system.
I don't
Well,
know if I like
obviously,
that either. It's an
well,
invasion of
I
my
don't I don't
privacy.
I don't like that either, but I think that that is much better
Yeah. No, you're right.
than I just don't think that you can ban it,
You
but
can't.
I do think it's not good for society.
Yeah, you're right about that. That would help basically these kids, these minors from getting like porn addicted,
Being the
which
gooner brain.
yeah, I agree with that. I understand that. I just every time I mean,
In turn,
I don't live in a state like that, but if I
I think
did, I would feel like
I think
it's an invasion of my privacy.
well, there's already several states I think that have that
Texas.
restriction.
Yeah, there are.
Um, but I think that getting these kids being able to look at pornography from 10, 11, 12 years old when you first get gifted your smartphone, I think that also leads to the degradation of society to where we are at this point, to where people will subscribe to OnlyFans like that, and multiple people. Um, so I think if you curb it earlier, you can at least prevent some of that as well. And I think
Yeah,
that's
you
much more
can,
productive
but it
tax.
it is like an authoritarian way to curb it. And a lot of
I
people
mean,
are going to see that and resent that
how is a tax any less authoritarian?
cuz you can just choose not to do it. But
Right. I could
like with
choose not to give my ID and not watch porn online.
yeah, but people are going to see that as like, "Oh, I can do it. I just got to give up my personal information." People aren't going to like that.
I understand, but I think a
Yeah.
tax is just as authoritarian.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think both of those solutions are better than locking up the people who run OnlyFans, putting them in jail, as Tucker called for earlier.
Well, I mean, the people that own OnlyFans, uh, we saw what happened in that Nevada sting not too long ago, where it was a child trafficking or a child sex sting or whatever, and it was the head of
like technology something in Israel, and he got a VIP plane ride back to Israel. So I mean, those are the same people that own OnlyFans. So I don't think that they'll go to jail.
No, they
Same
won't.
same people who own Pornhub and everything else. It's all owned by people from Israel.
I'm not saying I disagree, but I will say I'm not familiar with that. But I will also say that
Let me take that back. Let me take people who are Zionists.
also that guy in Vegas that that sent himself, he shipped off to Israel to not get extradited to the United States, where he had a charge for like sex with a minor or attempted sex with a minor. Like that stuff happens all the time. So there are a lot of like sexual predators that move to Israel because Israel won't extradite them back to the US. That is a real thing. That happens a lot. We might cover it on the channel. Leave a comment if you want us to go into it.
Yes. This is why Andrew Tate has so much appeal, and the Christians are kind of losing this conversation. Andrew Tate's a Muslim polygamist who is very chauvinistic, and you could even argue it as someone who has ran an OnlyFans site himself, like is not an observer, let's say, of Christian sexual morality.
No.
But men are going with him because he's putting women in their place. He's talking about patriarchy and women's place in a society like that. Whereas Christian men, Catholics, Protestants alike, are both kind of tone policing the men. And they worship their wives. They worship the women, put them on a pedestal. And they kind of get bossed around. They get henpecked by the women.
I think we're required to love our wives. Like that's, I mean, all over the New Testament. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. That seems like a very natural balance to me.
Yeah, and I think that you have to love your wife as your wife.
Yeah.
A lot of men...
As opposed to what? Your mom?
Well, no, like your buddy.
No.
Because I hear this all the time, and I hate this. Guys will say, I married my best friend. And I think, she's your wife. She's not your best friend.
Real quick, totally agree with that.
Because there's a difference.
What is the difference?
I think that when you talk about your best friend, you're a peer, you're an equal. And I think your best friendships are with other men. And I think that your wife ultimately is subordinate to you. She's your helpmate. Yeah. And ultimately, as the man in the marriage and as the father, you have authority, the final say over the household.
Well,
and
course.
She can give advice. It's not to say I'm not a freak where you say, shut up, woman. I mean, of course, you discuss things with your wife and your wife gives input, but the authority rests with the man.
Of course. But God set up this kind of amazing system where men are physically stronger. Mm-hmm. So, like, of course, you could make your...
And that's where Tucker gets into his religious stuff again. And he's saying men are stronger because God said so. Don't necessarily agree with that.
Your wife do whatever you wanted. You're bigger than she is.
Right.
But he also instilled in men this desire.
Want to choose someone who has similar views as you, so there wouldn't necessarily be disagreements for you to have the final say on something.
Yeah, absolutely. And what it kind of sounds like he's saying is, oh, the man is so strong, he gets, the wife doesn't have a choice in whatever the household wants. It's a little, it's not extremist, but it almost is.
To please your wife. Like that's a very natural thing. You want your wife to be happy.
Absolutely.
And the whole happy wife, happy life thing is completely real. It's like you can't get away from it. It's not like all of these things, it's not a choice. It's the biological reality that you live with, that you were born with. Like you want.
See, there you go. Yeah, if you make the argument that it's like biological, that might go over a little better, Tucker.
Want your wife to be happy. And if she's unhappy, you're unhappy. Mm-hmm. To a much greater extent than vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I think men care about their wives being happy much more than wives care about their husbands being happy.
Yes.
I have noticed. And that's compensation for their lack of physical power. Mm-hmm. That's my view of it. And that's why it is this kind of perfect balance, but somebody needs to be the final decision maker. I completely agree. And when you give up that, when you abrogate that, there's no respect, there's unhappiness, and then there's infidelity.
Right. Well, that's the ingredient that's missing. The way I would put it very succinctly is men right now are the responsible party, but have no authority. And that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
You know,
Yeah,
if you
that's
are
a good
held,
take.
if the buck stops with you and you're to blame and you're the responsible one, then you also need to be able to have the final say and call the shots. And one without the other doesn't work. And I think that is
I think that's really smart and absolutely right.
Yeah.
I do think, I just noticed this, that men who stay unmarried for too long.
Yeah, if you're gonna have like a, I don't know, like a 50-50 relationship, but if the guy fucks up, it's his fault. If the girl fucks up, it's nobody's fault. It's both of their faults. That's not gonna work.
Become like kind of fragile.
Hmm.
There's something about the give and take. There's something about living with, in fact, I think it's the key to life, someone you don't fully understand, that broadens you, that keeps you always thinking, that makes you wiser, more patient, more thoughtful, more self-aware, and more flexible. And those are all good qualities. And the absence of that, like in homosexuality or like men who are single too long, they get very rigid. Have you ever noticed this? Like, I like things the way I like them, and they just get like.
I will say, homosexual men, it seems like their marriage rates are like pretty solid. Like they don't get divorced as much.
You want to go into that statistic?
I don't, but what he's saying is wrong because gay men that get married stay together. They get along really well. It's I'm not just making this shit up. I'm not trying to be sexist. It's like a legitimate fact.
Gay men have the lowest divorce rates.
Yep.
Straight couples have the median divorce
Who has the
rates.
highest?
Lesbians.
Yep. And why is that?
Because when put in positions of authority over someone weaker, some women tend to abuse it or something, I think was the study. I don't know what it was.
I think it's just, in my, I'm biased because I'm a guy, but I just think that guys are easier to get along with. So if it's two guys, everything's fine. If it's a guy and a girl, mostly everything's fine. If it's two girls, there's going to be problems. I'm not trying to be sexist, but
Well, at least I'm referring to studies.
I'm referring to studies too. Look at the divorce rates for gay men. It's low.
Yes. Well, it's lower.
Yeah, lower.
No.
Oh, yeah. I certainly get what you mean by that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah. I would say that when you say you don't fully understand women, to me, I feel like women are very simple. In terms of
boo.
No, I haven't lived with them, but and don't get me wrong, maybe it's difficult, but I feel like they're pretty simple.
We're all pretty simple. No one's more simple than I am, but we're all pretty simple. But what I mean is, like, on a day-to-day, on the level of experience, like, you don't always understand what they're saying, because it's never about what they say it's about.
Right.
And men just tend to be kind of dog-like in their straightforwardness,
Sure.
I'm hungry,
Yeah.
I'm horny, whatever it is.
I disagree. I feel like men are complicated. I feel like women are like, I'm hungry, I'm horny.
There's the whole thing that's like, women will never tell you. I'm not saying I believe this. This is just what people say. Women will never tell you exactly what they're feeling, but like guys will. I think that's kind of what they're talking about here.
Yeah, I feel like men are very complicated.
to an
Really,
extent.
how?
Yeah, to an extent. I'm not trying to generalize all men and women, but yeah, to an extent.
Because men are masters of the universe. Women are the universe.
Hey, yo.
This is what Spengler says about them. And so I think that men have like a deep connection to things like math and space, and they want to conquer the world.
Of course.
And, things like this. And women, I feel like, are actually very primal and instinctual.
Yes.
They
much
want security.
earthier.
Yes. Chthonic. They're of the
100%.
terrestrial.
Never embarrassed by bodily functions. Men are so
Yes.
squeamish.
Yes.
Women are not at all. They give birth. No, that is absolutely true. But I mean, in the way that women present their concerns, there's almost always something that's not being fully expressed. Like, I got mad at you last night because I was pissed about something last year.
You might hate his take here, but I don't really disagree.
That's not a male thing to do. You can't remember what happened last year.
Right.
Right. And so, but anyway, but whatever the point, men and women talk past each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
They don't always know what the other one is saying. And that frustration actually gives way to like great beauty over time, I would say.
I don't know. I personally find women very frustrating when they are not expressing. And I
That's
view
the
that
beauty.
as like,
If you want to see an example of Nick Fuentes finding a woman very frustrating, go check out Nick Fuentes' interview on Candace Owens' podcast. It's amazing. You need to watch it.
of it. I see the way I look at it is like when you look at your favorite TV shows,
Right?
The Sopranos, Breaking Bad,
Why aren't we
it's
watching
like the
that
wife is
stream?
the villain.
Because I've already seen it, and it was a long time ago. But oh my god, they get into it. Like there's one part, there's one part where Candace Owens is like, Nick Fuentes, you can't tell me about something because you haven't had children, you don't have kids, you're not married, so you don't know. Like,
I think I've seen a couple clips from that.
yeah, she's like, you don't know like how you should be feeling because your life changes when you have kids and you're married. And he's like, I don't think a woman can tell me what to think. It's so hot, it's so spicy. You have to watch it. Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes interview. Check it out.
Pretty sure Nick Fuentes is also gay, right?
No, he's not. Not actually.
Oh, okay.
At least I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Because it's like the main
I have
character,
no idea.
if the wife
I don't think
could
he
just
is.
get out of the way, would be running the show. And that's kind of how I feel like Ayn Rand, I agree with her about this. She said that the wife's role is like hero worship. The guy is the hero. The guy is supposed to be the entrepreneur, the conqueror, whatever. And the woman is really supposed to support the man's goals and be in his world. And I've
Man, that's
felt
You might say what Nick Fuentes just said there is sexist, but look at how the world has gone. And statistically, he's right.
that
last
way.
thing successful men need is more power worship, more hero worship, more, you're so great. When you get that at work, you don't want that at home. You become an unbearable asshole. And then you fall prey to what destroys every successful man, which is hubris. Like you mistake yourself for God. You need someone who's not interested in what you do at all, only interested in you. And that's how you become balanced and wise. That's how you know your own limits. Because the ass kissing is what kills you. It's not, I mean, you had someone come to murder you at home. It doesn't seem to have affected you that much.
And if I were married, dude, she would never let me hear the end of it.
Well, that's probably true, but that's not what
he there
destroys
for a
men.
second.
It's not adversity that destroys men. It's comfort and flattery that destroys men. Right? That's what happened to King David. It's what happens to them all.
Yeah.
You're so great. You can never go wrong.
I just feel like we have I don't feel like we have an abundance of affection from women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in terms of where
I would say maybe you could make his argument if you said American women. American men don't have abundance of, what was it? Affection from American women. But that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. That whole passport bros movement. Like, you think an average woman from like Brazil or fucking Uganda wants to have an American husband? Like, yeah, they do. So that's kind of like I think he should be talking about that a little bit more. There's so many. The mainstream media calls him a white nationalist, and if he really wants to like help his movement, his white nationalist movement, he should be encouraging like, white American men and women to like get married. I'm not even saying I agree with that or anything, but it's just I feel like he's missing out on a good argument here.
the pendulum is at, I feel like the women are very unloving to the men. That's why like they don't cook. Because that's like the best way to express a love for a man. I said this on my show the other night. I'm like, the most beautiful words a woman could say is like, I made you dinner. I made you cookies.
Yeah.
Because that is like an act of love. And I think that, speaking as maybe from a different generation, the way that men feel now is like, women are not really providing too much. They expect so much from the men. They want the man to be.
And I think he needs to preface that with like Western or American women, because it's not all.
Be rich.
He is generalizing an entire sex.
And provide.
Yeah.
They want the man to be fit and a real leader and a real man. They also want to split the chores with the man. They want the man to do half the laundry and half the dishes and things like that. And it's like, so what do you do all day? You're on TikTok, you're like doom scrolling and eating Cheetos. Like what actually are you providing in the relationship?
If I were to try to argue for Nick Fuentes, I would say the woman is providing a matched salary, but no other benefits. That's how today's world works.
So I just feel like in terms of the deficit, it's like women are very emboldened. They're too, I think, assertive, always giving their opinions, always critiquing, always,
And you're legally allowed to give your opinions. And Nick Fuentes is very much aware of this.
I think that they're very bold right now, and sarcastic. I think that's a big reason why they're not very attractive.
The more he talks, the more I think he's gay.
Maybe you're right. He's either gay or, oh man, he's either gay or he might hate women. Like actually,
is that it?
Yeah.
Would say is that in a happy marriage, all of that goes away. There's no arguing about who does what.
Don't they
People
say
fall
that
seamlessly into the roles they were born into.
Rapers?
They acknowledge those, are not insecure about it at
true?
all.
I don't know.
I don't know
Express
either.
love in a whole bunch of different ways by serving each other. It's like super easy, and all of that obnoxious, entitled. You don't make enough money. All that crap just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's been my experience. So, last question: where is all of this going in this country? Like, where are we in 5 years?
Not anywhere good. I'm really concerned. And I'm not one of these doomsday sayers. There's a lot of people that forever, but the sky's falling every day. But I really feel like the things that concern me the most, it's the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
It seemed like we crossed a Rubicon there.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
Because he's just a conservative guy, relatively moderate, expressing his opinions. He's not the president. He's not a politician. And it wasn't just that he got shot. It was what happened afterward, which is that 100,000 liberals went on TikTok and celebrated.
Yep. Agreed.
And that shows that how can you integrate or harmonize with people?
How could you employ someone like that?
That hate you that much? They see some, and I understand that liberals thought he was a jerk. Like maybe he was a little rude or something like that. And he really wasn't. I mean, he was pretty patient.
Agreed. And I've said this probably like 5 or 6 times. You're allowed to voice your opinion in the United States of America. And if you're not aware of that, you need to get fucking educated.
As patient as they come.
I just tried to fill in for him last week and immediately snapped at some kid and threatened to beat him up and went crazy. And I had said a prayer for patience, by the way, and I still couldn't handle it. So, Charlie Kirk was a remarkably even-keeled, patient, decent man.
Yes. And so whatever their perception of him was, to see him get his face blown up in front of everybody like that, and the first reaction of someone in the crowd who was present, some guy with a beard jumps up and celebrates. Did you see this?
No.
Some liberal kid in the audience jumps up and says, "All right."
Covered on the channel. Check it out.
I literally can't handle it. I'm so upset by it. I haven't looked at anything.
It's disgusting. And I saw that and said, yeah, like, there's no putting the genie back in the lamp here. That was one.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm really worried about is what's happening at these ICE detention centers, where it's happening not far from where I live in Broadview, Illinois, where they set up an ICE detention facility, and the administration is rounding these people up, which I support, but they're doing it in a very provocative way.
The majority of voters support, by the way.
way. They're broadcasting it. They're making hype edits on Twitter of like these raids on apartment complexes, which I think are very cool, but it's somewhat provocative.
It is.
And Antifa showing up. In order to protect ICE, the administration's putting DHS. Well, now they're protesting the DHS presence, and the administration of the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago are telling Chicago police, don't help ICE. And they're encouraging the protesters. And what I see there is like a level of tension that just keeps increasing.
Yes.
And there's leadership. There's civilian leadership on both sides. Like the governor and mayor, who are Democrats, won't back down versus a Republican president. There's a security division too, the police versus ICE, the police versus DHS. There's a constitutional question about the federal supremacy, you know, and I see all the ingredients of like a low boil civil conflict, full-blown civil war. And
Absolutely.
I'm not that guy, but I see all the ingredients there for that to happen. So I'm deeply concerned about where that will go.
How would you?
I would say I think that it's going well. So we've seen the No Kings protests, and they have been, you know, largely nonviolent. So I will say, I don't think there's a real issue there. My biggest concern on that topic is that there are liberal leaders of these liberal cities and states that are willing to literally fight the federal government, even though the federal government isn't doing anything illegal. They're literally willing to fight the federal government. And what happens is the people that live in these cities and states have to face the repercussions of it. And it's not fair to these citizens just because these liberal politicians want to fight Donald Trump. It's kind of how I see it.
Handle it if you're in charge. If you're the president, what do you do about that?
I think maybe this is controversial, but they have to crush the other side. They have to, because you can do one of two things. You cannot challenge the left and let them do their thing, or you can utterly confront them and defeat them and remove hope from the equation. If you resist, you will be arrested. Like this is an insurrection. There's 10 million people here illegally.
It is an insurrection. So if we want to count the deaths on J6, we saw one death from a J6 protester. And if you want to count the deaths from all these anti-ICE riots, these LA riots, and these ICE riots, it's more than one. It's not a whole lot, but these extremists, like liberals, like have been killing people, sadly, and it is a fact. We have to understand. The most noticeable one is Charlie Kirk.
We're getting them out. You're rioting. You're going to jail too. Like, it has to be crushed. But if you do anything less than that, if you do in the middle, all you're doing is antagonizing and feeding the other side. And if they think there's a chance they can win, they will get bolder and stronger, and they'll start to rally. And that's when it's sort of like people think it's close or like it's contentious. That's when it breathes. That's when oxygen is fed to this kind of fire. So if I were Trump, I would say screw 200 National Guard, like arrest the mayor of Chicago, like arrest the governor, shut it down, like make it clear, like Washington, you know?
Again, I don't know if they could legally do that.
Bring in the troops and say the federal government is supreme. The immigration law is the law of the land. If you're not on board with that, you're going to jail. If you attack ICE or box them in with your car, you're going to jail for a long time. Anything less than that, you might as well just not even bark up that tree at all.
Nick Fuentes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
All right, so that is the stream. I guess we'll give some final thoughts. Like, both Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes do have a very religious background, and it's very obvious that background influences a lot of their opinions. So if you can understand that and get past it, everything they say is totally reasonable. But there are some issues with what they say. You can't just go around arresting people that have porn websites, and you can't just go around arresting liberal mayors like the mayor of Chicago, because technically they're not doing anything illegal. So you do have to understand that there is kind of like a gray area. It's not a solid black line or a solid line that if you cross, you're just breaking the law. There is a lot to it. But you take out the religious element from what they were both saying, and there was good points made, to be honest. But that really is the end of the stream today. I hope you liked it. In the future, we might do more of these kind of interviews on the channel. We wanted to do Tucker Carlson speaking at a Turning Point USA event, I think last week, but it just didn't really happen. If you want to see that, leave a comment, let us know. Definitely subscribe and check out other videos on the channel. We cover stuff like this and also conspiracy theories, which are always great. And the most important thing is for you to have a great night. So we will see you in the next